Chapter 338, Li Muwan. I can fight the life and death cycle, and time 1 wait for me. When will you come to take me away? In my left hand is the brief karma from the Sea of Devils, and in my right hand is more than 100 years of loneliness. Li Muwan was quietly lying on her bed wearing a white dress. Although her face had aged, her eyes were still bright as she stared at the man before her. She wanted to carve the person's image into her memory. She didn't know if what she felt for the man before her was true love, but she knew that in those 100 years, whenever she played music, his image would appear in her mind. Wang Lin grabbed Li Muwan's hand with a gentle smile on his face while his heart felt like it was being cut apart. Li Muwan moved her gaze to outside the window and whispered, "Wang Lin, last night I had a dream. I saw my big brother smiling at me, and there were 2 elders behind him. They looked like my parents. Li Muwan's parents died when she was very young. It was her big brother that raised her." Wang Lin's heart hurt even more. At night, Wang Lin stood outside the stone room, looking toward Zhao. His heart called out to it. In Zhao, deep under Hangyu Mountain, a reed-haired young man with a face as cold as never-melting ice suddenly opened his eyes. When he opened his eyes, the entire country of Zhao shook. It was as if some kind of demon was awakening, shocking every cultivator in Zhao. His original body's eyes were filled with coldness and ruthlessness. On his forehead were 2 spinning, purple stars, and around his body was purple lightning. He slightly turned his head. His gaze seemed like it could pierce the earth as he looked toward Chu. He ripped open the ground and walked toward Chu underground. 6 months quickly went by. Li Muwan's body was even weaker now, and her soul was on the verge of collapsing. The life and death cycle was constantly pulling her as if it wanted to completely take her away from Wang Lin. On this day, Xianxia came over with a bright red pill. There was hint of excitement he couldn't hide as he gave it to Wang Lin. Xianxia completed a rank 6 pill. After he finished speaking, his eyes dimmed and he fell down. He didn't die, but he was very weak. Holding the pill, Wang Lin looked at Li Muwan, who was on her deathbed. Her hair was all white, and her once young and beautiful face had been affected by the passage of time. In these several years, Wang Lin personally saw her slowly age and her beauty drying up. Endless sorrow filled the sea in his heart. However, the sea was too deep and too large. In the end, the sea turned into 2 streams of tears. He walked the path that defied the heavens and cultivated the domain of life and death. His life was filled with twists and turns, and while his heart was tired, he still believed. However, at this moment, although his expression didn't change, his heart aged as the girl before him aged. In his eyes, the age of this girl was but an illusion. In his eyes, the girl will forever remain how she looked back in the Sea of Devils, back when she was playing the zither in her loft, back when she stood there watching him leave. Wang Lin gently touched Li Muwan's face as he slowly put the pill in his hand into her mouth. The pill immediately melted in her mouth and her face became red. In an instant, an endless amount of spiritual energy surged from all over Chu and entered Li Muwan's body. The stone house couldn't withstand this powerful spiritual energy, so cracks began to appear all over it. With a blow of the wind, the stone house turned to dust and disappeared. Lu Fei and Tai Yan were awakened from their cultivation. The expressions on their faces immediately changed. At this moment, Xianxia's body was pushed away by a gentle force and landed before Lu Fei and Tai Yan. Wang Lin's voice drifted toward them saying, "Take Xianxia and wait for me in the Cloud Sky sect." Tai Yan didn't say anything. He quickly grabbed Xianxia and left with Lu Fei. It wasn't until they were more than 50 kilometers away that they turned around and looked back. Although the stone house was destroyed, Li Muwan's body was still floating in the air. Boundless amounts of spiritual energy surged into her body, causing her face to become more red. Slowly, a golden core formed in her body. The moment the golden core appeared, it caused all of the spiritual energy to rush into it. Wang Lin formed many seals that landed on the golden core. His expression was extremely serious, and he started making the seals even faster until a crack appeared on the golden core. The rank 6 return to origin pill's purpose was to make the person who consumes it absorb spiritual energy much faster to break through a bottleneck. However, Li Muwan's body was too weak. With her life almost over, it was hard to withstand this. Wang Lin flew into the sky. He wasn't looking at Li Muwan. Instead, he raised his head toward the sky with a determined expression on his face. His greatest enemy was the heavens, the life and death cycle. Li Muwan's golden core began to crack even more as it absorbed more spiritual energy. Golden light was leaking through the cracks. However, the light wasn't blinding. Instead, it emitted a gentle feeling. However, just at this moment, gray gas appeared around her body. The amount of gray gas quickly increased and completely covered her body. Wang Lin's life and death domain had already covered Li Muwan's entire body, but compared to this gray veil, it was trivial. Mortals couldn't see this gray veil. Even most cultivators couldn't see it. Only Wang Lin, who cultivated the life and death domain, could. Only he understood what it was. This gray veil was the law of the heavens. It was the life and death cycle. It was the sign that someone was about to die. Li Muwan's eyes showed a deep sense of reluctance. She looked at Wang Lin with a nostalgic gaze and then looked around before slowly closing her eyes. A teardrop fell from the corner of her eye. The teardrop slowly fell down, creating a weak sound when it landed on the ground. This sound entered Wang Lin's ears. It made him feel like past was collapsing. No one knew if where that tear fell will create a field of memories and sorrow by next year. The moment she closed her eyes, her golden core immediately dimmed and then shattered soon after. A small person who looked exactly like the Li Muwan of the past appeared. Her eyes were pure, but they quickly closed due to Li Muwan's death. Wang Lin, I am willing to give up everything. Even if the stars fall, as long as you are willing to accompany me, your heart is the brightest light. Wang Lin, I am willing to give up everything. Even if all my past lives are destroyed, it won't extinguish my reluctance to leave you. Wang Lin, I am willing to give up everything. Even if my life ends, even if time passes on, I hope the flower of memories never wilt. Wang Lin, this is the karma between us. This is the choice of the heavens. In the we are ink and water struggling under the heavens. Even if the heavens want you to die, I'll steal you back. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with sadness. He suddenly raised his head and, with a determined gaze, his life and death domain surged forth. In the sky above the valley, that black and white scroll appeared once more and slowly opened up. It was as if there was a giant hand moving across the scroll, creating waves of ripples on as it went by. The moment the scroll appeared, a thunderous roar spread throughout Chu. Li Muwan's body quickly decayed and turned to dust as it fell to the ground. Her nascent soul was also quickly dissipating. However, as Wang Lin's life and death scroll covered the sky, the speed at which her nascent soul was dissipating slowed down. Wang Lin then charged forth and appeared in the sky. He reached out toward the scroll and pulled down. The scroll quickly surrounded Li Muwan's nascent soul. Now that the scroll was gone, a very strange scene unfolded. Red clouds covered the sky, and two shocking lights appeared within the rolling red clouds. They seemed to be looking at Wang Lin. This unfamiliar yet familiar gaze caused Wang Lin's body to tremble. However, he still stared at the sky with a determined look. Behind him was Li Muwan's nascent soul wrapped up in the scroll. Wang Lin was using his own life and death domain to prevent Li Muwan's nascent soul from dissipating. He was going to fight against the heavens. Even if the heavens want you dead, I'll still steal you back. This was a promise, as well as Wang Lin's declaration of war against the heavens. The two rays of light in the sky slowly disappeared. However, shortly after, countless red clouds condensed into a giant hand and reached toward Li Muwan's nascent soul. Wang Lin let out a shout. He quickly grabbed the scroll and then flew into the distance. The giant hand seemed to be able to bypass distance and reach toward the scroll in Wang Lin's hand. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He raised his head and clashed with the giant hand. Bang! Wang Lin's origin soul shook violently. It was knocked out of his body. However, he quickly returned to his body and his divine sense spread out. He was looking for something. The giant hand was retracted, and the two eyes inside the red clouds appeared again and looked at the scroll in Wang Lin's hand. Then the giant hand descended again. Wang Lin roared, "Original body." At 36, Leo is still getting wisdom teeth, in pain for many days, with swollen jaws, frustrated, and they're not even breaking through yet. Counting them, there are 3 or 4 wisdom teeth not yet emerged. Chapter main text. Wang Lin had no interest in this foundation establishment pill at all. Seeing the price already so high, he sighed for Wang Hao. It seemed that Wang Hao wouldn't be able to get this foundation establishment pill. While thinking this, he heard Wang Hao shout, 230 QI gathering pills. This is my limit. Any more and I'm not trading. The scene quickly became silent. 230 QI gathering pills was already a very high price. Not many could beat it, but the foundation establishment pill was simply too rare, and few were willing to give theirs up. The person selling the foundation establishment pill smiled. He arrogantly said, with just 230 QI gathering pills, you want to trade for my foundation establishment pill? If the price is under 2,000 QI gathering pills, I'm not trading. Wang Lin quickly listened to his voice. After pondering for a while, he secretly guessed that this person was Wang Zhuo, but he was not sure, because he was completely hidden by the black fog. Wang Hao shrugged and didn't say a word. Everyone present was stunned by that person's arrogance. The person in charge coughed and said, okay everyone, since that person doesn't want to trade his foundation establishment pill, let us move on and continue the exchange. Before long, another person came out and presented their goods. Soon it was Wang Lin's turn. He stepped forward, took out a small bottle and said, a mysterious liquid that could match 1 drop to 1 QI gathering pill. There are about 100 drops in here. I only want the chance for the 4th layer or later. After he finished talking, he opened the bottle. Everyone could sense the spiritual energy within it. Many people became mesmerized. Although QI gathering pills were filled with spiritual energy, it was still a finished product. This liquid had many more uses, like refining more pills. Even when refining treasures, like a flying swords, it would help increase its spiritual power. Someone immediately said, I'll trade the chant for the 4th layer with you. Wang Lin raised his brow and said, only the 4th layer? Another person shouted, how about the chance for the 4th, 5th, and 6th layers to trade for that mysterious liquid? Wang Lin pondered a little. He shook his head and said, I want the chance for the 4th through 15th layer. Brother, aren't you making this too difficult for us? Even second elder apprentice brother Kenji, who won last year's competition, is only at the 6th layer, and they only have the chant for 7th, 8th, and layer. From the 10th to 15th layer, only a few elder apprentice brothers have them. Wang Lin was stunned. He hesitated for a while. Suddenly a voice from not far away said, if you have 200 drops of that liquid, I can give you the chant for layers 4 through 9. Everyone looked toward the voice and saw a man wearing purple walking toward the disguised Wang Lin. He was only about 20 years old but had a cold expression. When he arrived, he looked at the surroundings and everyone was shocked. They respectfully said, second elder apprentice brother Kenji. The purple-clothed man didn't pay any attention to them but said to Wang Lin, do you have 200 drops? Wang Lin's face hardened and his pupils shrank. He was getting an extremely dangerous feeling from this person, far exceeding anyone else that he had met in the Hangyu sect. Even Master Sun Daju and Brother Zhang could compare to him. Wang Lin respectfully replied, this liquid is something I found by accident. Besides these 100 drops, I have a few dozen left to use for myself. I don't have that much. The purple-clothed man pondered a little. He tossed out a piece of jade and said, fine. Give me the rest of the liquid and these chants are yours. Wang Lin took the piece of jade and scanned it to make sure it contained what he needed. He took out another bottle and placed the 2 bottles on the ground. He didn't get closer to the purple-clothed man. The purple-clothed man looked at Wang Lin, then waved his hand. The 2 bottles flew towards him. After scanning them with his divine sense, he said, if you get more of this liquid, come look for me in the back mountains. It doesn't matter if it's foundation establishment pills, flying swords, skill jade, or even the chant for the 10th layer or later. I can get them all. After he finished speaking, he turned around and left. Wang Lin's eye became narrow, and his gaze became cold. The last thing that purple-clothed man said was simply too vicious. If it was the people in the crowd, they might not have immediately realized, but Wang Lin had always been smart, so he could always see the deeper meaning in things. The words the guy said meant that anyone could take the mysterious liquid to him to trade. That placed Wang Lin in a very dangerous position. Although he couldn't see other people's eyes, he could feel that there were people secretly watching him. But after Wang Lin decided to bring out the spring water, he had already prepared for this possibility, so he didn't panic and calmly checked his surrounding. The crowd quickly continued the exchange until it was over. As people left, there were people who were filled with joy, as well as many filled with disappointment. Wang Lin did not leave with Wang Hao, but placed a dozen or so talismans on his legs and rushed out. He disappeared in the blink of an eye. Wang Hao was a smart person and understood why Wang Lin did this. He quickly used a talisman and left the exchange ground. The disciples that revealed some good treasures all did the same and quickly left. The several disciples that had malicious thoughts toward Wang Lin after seeing the mysterious liquid were all taken by surprise. They wanted to chase, but only saw a shadow. They cursed a few times and left. Some of the higher cultivation level disciples didn't go and blatantly try steal things. This was, after all, an exchange between disciples of the same sect. If killing and stealing really occurred and was found out by the other S-master, then there would be dire consequences. As Wang Lin was running, he kept placing more talismans on his legs. The speed the talismans gave stacked, so with a few dozen talismans on his legs, he quickly returned to the sect courtyard. The person he was the most afraid of was the purple-clothed man. He didn't immediately return to the chore house, but hid in an empty room. Only when daylight appeared and the disguise disappeared did Wang Lin carefully leave the room. Luckily, along the way back, there was nothing. Leo has caught a cold, his nose running like a leaky faucet, making it unlikely he'll make it home tomorrow. Trying hard to ensure a new update, but lacking the energy, longing for the like button for the video. Chapter. The moment the giant hand got close, the ground began to shake. A cold-faced young man with red hair charged out from the ground and slammed into the hand. Bang. The hand was bounced back several meters. The pair of eyes in the clouds locked onto the red-haired man. The original body's expression remained the same. It was as if that hand earlier was just a gentle breath. However, the two purple stars on his forehead were rapidly spinning. It stood before Wang Lin and coldly stared at the sky. The eyes in the red clouds disappeared again, and the amount of red clouds increased. This time, a large amount of red clouds entered the hand. The previously illusionary hand became more solid, and 5 deadly fingers formed. It attacked once again. This time, as the hand got closer, 5 spatial rifts were opened by its 5 fingers as they chased after Wang Lin. Wang Lin let out a roar. He slapped his bag and took out the restriction flag. A lance quickly formed and he threw it at the hand. At the same time, the spinning of the purple stars on the original body suddenly paused, and crackling sounds came from all over the body. It turned into a 30-foot-tall giant with a hint of purple light under its skin. The body emitted a grim aura. The original body was starting to look like an ancient god. The original body's eyes were filled with battle intent. It quickly stepped toward the hand and grabbed the lance. With a bang, it lunged toward the hand. However, with a boom like the heavens were collapsing, the lance shattered and turned back into restriction gas. The original body was hit with a powerful force and crashed down into the ground. When it landed on the ground, many cracks appeared around it. The original body kept sinking and only stopped when it was 1,500 kilometers underground. A stream of blood came out from the corner of the original body's mouth. Its will to battle increased even more, causing its blood to boil as it charged out once more. Wang Lin hadn't stopped moving. He was rapidly flying away with his divine sense spread out. Then he suddenly locked onto a mountain village 5,000 kilometers away. The giant hand chased after Wang Lin after knocking his original body away. The eyes inside the red cloud didn't show any sign of changing. The moment it arrived, Wang Lin suddenly turned around. He focused all of his spiritual energy into his finger and touched the palm of the hand with it. Bang! Wang Lin was sent flying. He coughed out a mouthful of blood, which landed on the scroll and disappeared into it. Li Muan's nascent soul, which was almost dead, suddenly gained a hint of life. He was fighting against the heaven's reincarnation cycle for this woman. The giant hand reached out once more. The original body charged out of the ground and let out a roar. It stopped before Wang Lin and slammed into the giant hand with its right fist. Bang! The original body spat out a mouthful of blood and began to laugh maniacally. The giant hand had been knocked back several meters. The original body let out a loud laugh as it walked forward and continued to punch the giant hand. Bang, bang, bang! With each impact, his original body would bleed more from the corner of its mouth, but its will to fight kept on increasing. I am an ancient god, so I am naturally a heaven-defying existence. If you wish to take her, you will have to walk over my dead body. A figure suddenly appeared behind the original body. Its feet were on the ground, but its head was in the sky. The figure was not standing but kneeling with one leg on the ground. Its head was down like it was asleep. The original body laughed like a madman as it continued to throw out punches, knocking the giant hand back. As the original body kept attacking, the figure behind him gradually raised its head. The eyes inside the red clouds were still calm. These eyes belonged to the messenger of the heavens. He had no emotions. His only goal was to follow the rules of the heavens and pull anyone who wished to escape the cycle of life and death back in. The original body's strength was far beyond any cultivator's. Wang Lin quickly left with the scroll in his arms. The giant hand was eventually pushed back into the red clouds and disappeared. But in the blink of an eye, the hand charged out of the red clouds again. This time, the hand was almost completely solid, and it was several times more powerful than before. The hand wasn't open anymore. It was a fist that collided with the original body. With a bang, countless parts of the original body were damaged as it fell from the sky. The figure behind the original body seemed to have woken up. As it raised its head, a powerful force surged out of its body. The original body suddenly stopped falling, then it flew up to the forehead of the figure. The giant hand ignored the figure and smashed toward Wang Lin, who had already flown far away. Wang Lin had been keeping track of everything that was happening behind him. He clenched his teeth and teleported. The 5,000-kilometer distance was crossed in one teleport. Below his feet was a paradise-like village. The children were playing as if the earth-shattering battle 5,000 kilometers away couldn't be heard. They actually couldn't hear it, though. No one but Wang Lin and his original body could see and feel the power from the heavens. The only thing that others could see and hear was the hole the original body had made. But by the time the sound from that impact traveled this far, it was too weak to be noticed. In this village of less than 100 people, a woman was currently cooking porridge. She would occasionally raise her head to look at the children playing outside while touching her stomach. Floating in the air above the village, Wang Lin shook the scroll. Li Muan's nascent soul came out of the scroll and immediately began to dissipate. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a hint of tenderness as he pointed at Li Muan's nascent soul. Her nascent soul flew like a meteor toward the village. At this moment the giant fist arrived. It suddenly came down from the sky, smashing toward Li Muan's nascent soul. Wang Lin quickly blocked the fist. Bang. Wang Lin coughed out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were bloodshot right now. He then quickly took out 9 wooden carvings with the domain of time. The giant fist descended once more and shattered 6 of the wooden carvings. The fist passed through the remaining wooden carvings, went around Wang Lin, and once more chased after Li Muan's nascent soul. Wang Lin let out a roar and once again arrived in front of the fist. He didn't have any time to use any techniques, so he blocked it with his body. Bang. Wang Lin was bleeding from his orifices, but he began to laugh. He continued to laugh. Eventually, the laughter sounded like it was filled with madness. You want to wipe out Wan to force her back into the reincarnation cycle. Wang Lin, want to let you. The cold eyes in the red clouds looked at Wang Lin, and the fist descended again. Wang Lin blocked it once more. This time, many parts of his body shattered and blood spewed out of his mouth and nose. However, his expression was now even more mad, as he looked at the eyes in the clouds and laughed. I cultivated the domain of life and death. One day, I'll make the heavens reincarnation cycle mine. Then I'll make the reincarnation cycle follow my commands and make you, an illusion created by the reincarnation cycle, bow before me. The gaze in the red clouds was still calm as if it were looking at a sad mortal spouting nonsense. Li Muan's nascent soul had already entered the village and silently fused with the flesh inside that woman's stomach. The eyes looked at the village before turning back to Wang Lin. Then the giant fist fell once more. This time there was a suction force coming from the fist, and it was covered in lightning. This punch was punishment for obstructing the will of the heavens. The moment the fist started moving, the original body arrived. A ray of blood-red light charged in from the distance and fused together with Wang Lin. Wang Lin and his original body suddenly disappeared. They were replaced by a 10-foot person with long hair. This person's left eye was like the moon, and his right eye was like the sun. This person was covered in an aura, composed of a mix of the ancient god's power and the life and death domain. The current Wang Lin was no longer a cultivator or an ancient god, but a never-before-seen combination. His body was as powerful as an ancient goddess, but he had the origin soul of a cultivator. This was a combination of inner and outer cultivation methods. Wang Lin raised his head. Behind him was the figure with its head raised. If one looked closely, they would see an origin soul the size of a person in the figure's chest. There were vein-like things that extended from the origin soul to the entire body of the figure. That original soul was like the heart of the ancient god. Without waiting for the fist to land, Wang Lin stepped forth and flew toward the fist. Bang, bang, bang! Wang Lin's body was sent flying and he kept on coughing out blood. However, he laughed the entire time. His laugh was filled with arrogance. Now that she has been reincarnated with her nascent soul, her life has been extended. This falls in line with the laws of the heavens. As long as she doesn't cultivate, she will be able to escape the eyes of the heavens. 19 years from now, when her nascent soul reforms, you will come back. But I'll stop you again. The eyes in the red cloud calmly looked at Wang Lin for a while before disappearing. Even the giant fist disappeared. The red cloud scattered. Leo has a cold, with a sore throat and a bit of dizziness, not daring to promise if there will be a third watch today, doing his utmost to get through. Chapter 340, Messenger of Suzuka. Wang Lin flew to where the pagoda was and landed next to it. His original body separated from him, coughed out some blood, and sat down to cultivate. After a very long time, Wang Lin opened his eyes. He quickly sat down, took out some pills, and started to manage the spiritual energy in his body. 3 days later, he and his original body both opened their eyes at the same time. My injury is too serious this time. I must go into closed-door cultivation to recover. Wang Lin secretly thought that the messenger of the heavens had no intent on killing him until that very last blow. The messenger had no emotions. It did everything by the rules. With how much of Wan Era's nascent soul dissipated, it will take her 19 years to recover and awaken. Once she awakens, the heavens will come again to wipe out anyone who dares to try to escape the heavens' law. Wang Lin stared at the sky. Wang Lin stood up. At the same time, his original body silently flew away toward the giant hole that was created during the battle. It landed in the hole and sank down. As it sank, the dirt around the hole followed it in. Soon, the hole was filled. It was like it was never there. Thousands of kilometers underground, the original body sat there cultivating. The 2 purple stars on its forehead spun rapidly. A faint purple light came out of its body, forming a small ball of light beside him. The injury the original body suffered was much heavier than Wang Lin's, especially on that last attack, where the original body took 70% of the damage. However, with the strength of the original body's body, it was not life-threatening, but it had to go into closed-door cultivation as well. Wang Lin took a deep breath. He then slapped his bag of holding and took out a jade. After leaving a message inside, he threw it into the sky and it disappeared, leaving a streak of light. After doing all of this, Wang Lin sat down next to the pagoda and activated the sliver of Zhou Yi's domain. Unless an ascendant cultivator comes, no one else will be able to approach him. Just like this, Wang Lin closed his eyes and silently healed his injuries. During the day, the rays from the sun landed on Wang Lin, giving him a hint of warmth. At night, the moonlight quietly arrived, bringing with it the cold of the night. On rainy days, the rain fell down from the sky and landed on Wang Lin, completely soaking him almost instantly. On snowy days, the snow slowly fell from the sky, covering everything. No matter where one looked, everything was covered in white. There was even a snowman next to the pagoda. Whether it was day or night, rainy or snowy, Wang Lin's body still wouldn't move. He was like an old, dead monk. There was no vitality coming from his body. 6 months after the battle, spring came again. In the old Zhou's home in Apricot Village, a baby was born. Her name was Zhou Ru. This baby girl was born crying like other babies, but no one knew that this cry was different than a normal baby's cry. The baby girl's body was very weak. Luckily, old Zhou was respected in Apricot Village. He also owned a store, so his life was better than most people. There was a cave in the mountain 50 kilometers away from the Apricot Village. Tai Yan had been cultivating there for more than 6 months. 6 months ago, Tai Yun and Lu Fei received Wang Lin's message ordering one of them to come and guard Li Muwan. After the two talked about it, Tai Yan came. His divine sense was locked onto the village at all times as he silently guarded it. Wang Lin's healing continued. The snow outside the pagoda had already turned to water and was absorbed by the earth. The original body was thousands of kilometers underground. During these 6 months, it had gone deeper 3 times. Each time it did so, it sank several thousand kilometers. The original body had already traveled 1/5 of the way to the planet's core. It was not a lie that the ancient gods grew in battle. After this fierce battle, the original body was showing signs of breaking through. Although it was slow, he had already reached the peak of the 2-star stage. The third transformation was not far away. In the blink of an eye, a year passed by. Zhou Ru was now 1-year-old. Most children at this age would start making sounds even if they couldn't speak, but Zhou Ru remained silent. Thus, the people of the village began a rumor stating that this girl was a mute. On this day, a group of people walked out of a normal transfer array on the edge of Chu. Among them was a woman wearing a veil. There was a hint of fatigue in her eyes, but they still shined like the stars and would mesmerize almost anyone. Following behind her was an old man. The old man was wearing an old black coat, and his eyes were dim. It was like he was going through a severe illness. If Wang Lin saw them, he would recognize them as the 2 that had bought the rank 6 pill recipe. Beside the 2 of them stood a white-haired old man. He was the soul formation cultivator from the treasure refining pavilion named Yu. Behind him were 3 people. One of them was someone Wang Lin knew well, Chu Siping. The other 2 were Shu Luo and a very beautiful woman. This woman was the person who delivered the purple jade. After the 6 of them exited the transfer array, the old man looked toward the north and said, "Although Chu isn't the quickest way to enter the immortal graveyard, it is easier than going through Zhou." The woman with the white veil nodded and said, "What Senior said is correct. Although going through Chu takes longer, there is no checkpoint to pass through like there is in Zhou, so it is much easier." The old man named Hu flew forward. Everyone else quickly followed. Chu Siping secretly sighed. After Wang Lin left, he decided to follow old man Hu in hopes of reaching the soul formation stage one day. Although his cultivation level had risen in the last 10 years, it was still too far away from the soul formation stage. He believed that if he were able to obtain that object in the immortal graveyard, then reaching the soul formation stage would no longer be a dream. The woman secretly sighed. During these 10 years, she had reached out to many soul formation cultivators. In the end, she remembered that the treasure refining pavilion had a soul formation cultivator. After she revealed some secrets she hadn't told Wang Lin, she was able to convince the old man to help. The 6 of them flew north. They passed by many sects, but no one dared to stop them. Old man Hu was surprised. "I haven't come to Chu in over 100 years. There seems to be many changes." Behind him, Shu Luo respectfully said, "Ancestor, in these recent years, the Cloud Sky sect has devoured several other sects and officially became the #1 sect in Chu." Old man Hu nodded and said, "The Cloud Sky sect focuses on alchemy, so they must have a lot of nascent soul cultivators. When we return from the immortal graveyard, remind me to take a trip to the Cloud Sky sect to ask for some pills." Shu Luo faintly smiled. He was sure that the Cloud Sky sect would immediately hand over pills for their own safety. As the 6 of them flew, a pillar of light shot into the sky. From where they were, the pillar was only as thick as a baby's fist, but if they were closer, the pillar would be countless times larger. Old man Hu suddenly turned toward the pillar of light. Even with his experience, he was shocked. The eyes of the old man who was behind the woman suddenly lit up as he looked toward the pillar of light. He was also shocked. This pillar of light was coming from the center of Chu, where the Heaveness Tower was. This is a messenger from an upper cultivation country descending. But a messenger from a rank cultivation country wouldn't cause this big of a commotion. The more the old man looked, the more shocked he became. Then, several golden dragons appeared around the pillar of light, and soon, a white-robed young man slowly walked out. The moment he walked out, the golden dragons let out roars. Even with how far the 6 of them were, they were able to clearly hear the roars. Shortly after, the golden dragons all charged at young man in white. Right as they were about to collide, they turned into countless golden threads and became embroidered onto the young man's clothes. "A messenger from Suzaku," the old man revealed an aghast expression. He realized that something big was about to happen in Chu. Why else would a messenger from Suzaku come to a mere rank 3 cultivation country? The woman's face revealed a trace of panic. The old man took a step forward and stood in front of her. The panic on the woman's face quickly disappeared, but her clenched fist was covered in sweat. Tuayu Siping, Shu Luo, and the beautiful woman were all shocked. Tuayu Siping was especially shocked. He looked at the light and muttered, "This is the first time I've seen someone from Suzaku. The beautiful woman took a deep breath and softly asked, "Ancestor, why did a messenger from Suzaku came to Chu?" "Fellow cultivator Gong Sun, what do you think?" Old man Hu looked toward the old man wearing the old black coat. The old man slowly said, "Fellow cultivator Hu, I have just entered the soul formation stage, so I dawn to know many things about Suzaku. However, I believe that something big is about to happen. I dawn to know what it is, but why else would a messenger from Suzaku come to Chu?" Old man Hu secretly thought, "Rubbish." His gaze turned toward the pillar of light. Just at this moment, the pillar of light started to fade. The young man in white flew toward the six of them like a meteor. The woman with the white veil-ass body trembled. Her eyes were filled with extreme fear. This scene was noticed by old man Hu. He didn't show any reaction on his face, but a hint of doubt appeared in his heart. Leo goes to the hospital with his wife, then directly to pick up his daughter from school, continuing the storytelling upon return. Chapter 341-3, Message from Mount Suzuka. That messenger was very fast, so he soon arrived before the six. The messenger slightly paused for a moment. His green eyes swept across the six of them. Aside from old man Hu and the old man in the black cloak, everyone's hearts trembled and they lowered their heads. "There are two soul formation cultivators here." The light disappeared, revealing the handsome-looking young man. Although the woman who came with old man Hu had her head lowered, her cheeks still turned slightly red. This man was the most handsome person she had ever met. "Where are you guys going?" The young man's voice was calm, but it didn't hide the condescending aura. The old man was immediately able to tell that this young man's cultivation was at the peak of the early stage of soul formation. He sneered in his heart but revealed nothing on the surface as he said, "We are going to the immortal graveyard." The young man's gaze landed on the woman with the white veil and he said, "Take off your veil." The old man with the black cloak stepped forward and said, "Lord Messenger, my lady has orders from the head of the house that she can easily reveal her face. I hope that Lord Messenger can understand." The young man's gaze lit up. After pondering for a bit, he waved his sleeves and flew away. The six of them pondered for a while. Old man Hu's eyes lit up, and then he followed the young man. He wanted to see why this Suzaku messenger had come to Chu. After he moved, Tuayu Siping, Shu Luo, and the woman quickly followed. The white-veiled woman looked at the old man, clenched her teeth, and followed them. The old man let out a sigh and followed her. Everyone followed the young man, but from a distance. They saw him flying north. It seemed like his destination was also the immortal graveyard. Old man Hu secretly thought, could some kind of treasure have appeared in the immortal graveyard? But just as that thought went through his head, his expression suddenly changed when he saw the young man flying over a valley. The young man seemed to have met some kind of powerful force and was pushed back more than 100 feet. The young man revealed a shocked expression. Old man Hu landed on a nearby mountain. Everyone else followed him and looked at the young man. The young man frowned. He took out a jade and checked it. The instructions inside the jade led to this place. He pondered for a bit before taking a few steps forward. Then he suddenly felt a terrifying pressure, so his expression changed and he quickly backed up. Old man Hu was curious. He looked toward the valley and saw a pagoda. Below the pagoda sat a person, but there was no life coming from that person. It looked like a mummified body. The young man tried a few times but couldn't go more than 5 kilometers deep into the barrier. His expression was unsettled, and in the end he clasped his hands and said, "I am Feng Yushan of Suzaku. I wish to greet fellow cultivator Seng Yu." Seng Yu. Old man Hu's eyes became serious. He was shocked. His eyes unconsciously landed on the mummified body below the pagoda. It was no surprise that he was this shocked. The name Seng Yu had become very famous in the Sea of Devils. Stories about Seng Yu almost never ended. There was a rumor that he had been secretly trained by Suzaku and would be the person to inherit the title of Suzaku. Otherwise, how else would Suzaku not respond with their usual overbearing style after he took an arm from Red Butterfly? There was also a rumor that he was a disciple of some secret power, and that his talent was far beyond Red Butterfly's. The rumors also stated that within this secret power, There were many cultivators far more powerful than Sang Niu, which was why Suzaku didn't dare to move against him. In addition, there's some even more ridiculous rumors saying that Sang Niu hadn't even cultivated for more than 60 years, making him even more valuable to Suzaku than Red Butterfly. There were numerous stories and rumors like this. Sang Niu. The white-veiled woman's eyes lit up and her breathing became rough. She thought that if Sang Niu would help her, then everything would be all right. The old man beside her revealed a hint of respect in his eyes. I never thought that the famous Sang Niu would be here. Chu Siping took a deep breath. No wonder a messenger from Suzaku would come to Chu. Shu Luo revealed a look of disbelief. The beautiful woman softly said, I wonder what relationship this Sang Niu has with Chu. The moment she said this, Old Man Hu pondered for a bit and then said, cancel the order to send someone to the Cloud Sky sect. Shu Luo was startled, but he quickly agreed. The young man waited for a bit. After hearing no response, he frowned and said, Fellow cultivator Sang, I am not here about you injuring Red Butterfly, but to deliver her challenge letter. I hope you can come out to meet me. The moment he said this, the 6 people all had various expressions on their faces. Old Man Hu's eyes lit up and he looked toward the valley. After a long time, there was still no response from the valley. Fang Yushan was very angry. He was a disciple of Suzaku, so he was shown respect everywhere he went. Not even rank 5 cultivation countries dared to retreat him like this. Feng Yushan's eyes became gloomy and he slowly said, Fellow cultivator Sang, don't refuse our goodwill only to regret it later. No one dares to ignore the orders of Suzaku. The moment he finished speaking, a powerful force came from the valley. The power formed a giant hand which grabbed the young man. A series of crackling sounds came from within the hand. Feng Yushan's forehead was covered in sweat and his eyes were filled with fear. I am a messenger of Suzaku. Sang Niu don't barash. I am only here to deliver the challenge letter. A calm voice came from within the valley. The date! Feng Yushan quickly said, 3 months from now, on Mount Suzaku in the Western Heaven Temple. How did you know I was here? Although Wang Lin's voice was calm, there was a hint of killing intent within it. Feng Yushan didn't hesitate to respond. I really don't know. This was sent from Mount Suzaku. If it wasn't for them, Red Butterfly S-Master would have already come looking for you. Your location was also sent down by them. At this moment, Old Man Hu's expression became strange. He felt like he was familiar with this voice. He turned around and looked at Qiu Siping to see that Qiu Siping was dumbfounded. It seemed like Qiu Siping had already guessed the same thing. After a pause, Wang Lin's voice came from the valley. I don't have the time. The invisible hand around Feng Yushan disappeared, allowing him to regain his freedom. His back was covered in cold sweat at this point. Now he finally understood the terror of Sang Niu. He originally thought that Sang Niu was only able to take senior apprentice sister Red Butterfly's arm because he used some tricks. Now he no longer thought like that. Wang Lin's response put him in a difficult situation. He pondered a bit, clasped his hands, and respectfully said, Fellow cultivator Sang, it is by the order of Mount Suzaku that you battle with Red Butterfly. They rarely ever send out any messages. In the past 100 years, they only sent out 3. The first time was to recruit Red Butterfly as a core disciple. The second time was to stop people from pursuing you. The third time was when they gave out your location and ordered you to fight Red Butterfly. I believe that you will receive great benefits if you win. After all, of the 3 messages, 2 of them were related to you. Wang Lin's voice came from inside the valley. Tell Red Butterfly that even if she wants to battle, it will have to be in 10 years. Feng Yushan pondered for a bit, let out a wry smile, and clasped his hands. He turned around and disappeared in a ray of light. Old friends in the valley, please come in. With that, Zhou Yi's domain disappeared. Old Man Hu laughed and walked into the valley. Behind him, the white-veiled woman and her servant followed. Qiu Siping hesitated for a bit before quickly following in along with Shu Luo and the woman. Inside the valley, the mummified body moved when the 6 of them arrived. After a series of crackling sounds, the mummified body's eyes opened. Wang Lin took a deep breath, stood up, and let out a smile. He waved his hand and surrounded himself in a thick white fog. After the fog disappeared, Wang Li appeared before them wearing a white robe. Everything that had landed on his body during his time cultivating had disappeared. Wang Lin pointed at the ground, and suddenly a table made of stone appeared from the ground. Several stone chairs also appeared. "Please sit." Wang Lin sat down, waved his hand, and a tea set appeared on the table. Old Man Hu stared at Wang Lin and sat down across from him. The beautiful woman quickly greeted Wang Lin, walked up, and poured tea for everyone. Wang Lin looked at the black-cloaked old man next to the white-veiled woman and smiled. "Fellow cultivator, please sit." The old man took a long look at Wang Lin. He recognized that this was the same person from back then. A complex expression appeared on his face as he sat down. The others also sat down. Old Man Hu looked at Wang Lin and bitterly smiled. "I don't know if I should call you fellow cultivator Wang or fellow cultivator Sang." Wang Lin picked up a cup, took a sip, and smiled. "Names are just what we call each other. There is no need to worry too much about it." The white-veiled woman was still looking at Wang Lin. Her face showed a complex expression. She would never have guessed that the famous Sing Niu was this person. Wang Lin looked at the woman and said, "Lady is still as beautiful as before. I believe that you are heading to the immortal graveyard to save your father since you are with fellow cultivator Hu." The white-veiled woman whispered, "Back then, this little girl didn't know Senior's identity. I hope Senior forgives my rudeness." The name Sang Yu was very famous throughout Suzaku. Even Old Man Hu was shocked by it, much less her. Leo steps out without his laptop charger. The computer has no power, so he reads the chapters using his phone, typing manually. Tears are flowing. Chapter 342, Remnant of the Savages. Wang Lin put down his cup and silently shook his head. He looked toward Chu Seeping and said, "Brother Qi Yu, if you give up everything and stay alone, you have a chance to comprehend the ways of the heavens." Chu Seeping wryly smiled. He knew that he wouldn't be able to keep the fact that he was now following Old Man Hu from Wang Lin. He said, "Reaching the soul formation stage is difficult." Old Man Hu picked up the cup and took a sip. He was shocked by the flavor. "Fellow cultivator Wang, this tea?" Wang Lin smiled. "This tea is not from Suzaku but from another cultivation planet. I accidentally got this during my trip to the celestial realm many years ago." Old Man Hu took a deep breath. He stared at Wang Lin with a trace of hesitation in his eyes before saying, "Rumor has it that when Brother Wang went to the celestial realm, you took an arm from Red Butterfly. Was Brother Wang able to obtain celestial spiritual energy?" The way he referred to Wang Lin unconsciously changed. Wang Lin looked at Old Man Hu and said, "I have obtained some." Old Man Hu's eyes lit up. He looked at Wang Lin and sincerely said, "I am willing to pay any price for some celestial spiritual energy. I hope fellow cultivator Wang is willing to sell some." Wang Lin faintly smiled. "This matter is not urgent. We can wait until it is time to break through to the soul transformation stage. I wonder, what is fellow cultivator Hu going to the immortal graveyard for?" Old Man Hu secretly thought that although Wang Lin hadn't cultivated for long, he was an old fox who could easily change the subject. After hearing Wang Lin, he laughed and said, "That is true. Then when this old man is about to reach the soul transformation stage, I'll have to come and ask you for some. As for the immortal graveyard, you will have to ask fellow cultivator Zixin to explain." The white-veiled woman looked at Wang Lin and said, "Senior, inside the immortal graveyard there is a reincarnation tree. Junior has a map that can lead us there." Wang Lin calmly took a sip of tea. The woman who came with Old Man Hu obediently poured another cup for Wang Lin. She would occasionally glance at Wang Lin. After Q Seeping heard reincarnation tree, his eyes were filled with desire. Shu Luo showed the same look. The white-veiled woman looked at Wang Lin and found that his expression hadn't changed at all after hearing about the reincarnation tree. His reaction was just like Old Man Hu's. She couldn't help but secretly sigh. Wang Lin was extremely mischievous, so she couldn't see through him at all. It looked like, aside from strength, a soul formation cultivator's slyness was far above a nascent soul cultivator's. Old Man Hu looked toward Wang Lin and found that there was no change in Wang Lin's expression. Now he believed even more of the rumors about Sung and Iu. Sitting under the reincarnation tree allows a cultivator to experience an extra life cycle. This is very good for soul formation cultivators because it allows them to increase their understanding of their domain. The white-veiled woman looked at Wang Lin. She didn't believe that he wasn't tempted. Unfortunately, she still couldn't see any changes in Wang Lin's expression. Wang Lin let out a faint smile. He looked toward Old Man Hu and said, "Ridiculous. The domain of a soul formation cultivator is something that they comprehend themselves. This reincarnation tree might have some effect on peak late-stage nascent soul cultivators, or early-stage soul formation cultivators whose cultivation hasn't stabilized yet. I believe Old Man Hu has other goals for this trip." The white-veiled woman was startled. She looked toward the old man in the black cloak to see that he was also frowning. Old Man Hu laughed. He didn't try to hide it. He said, "Brother Wang is really knowledgeable. I am impressed. You are indeed correct." The white-veiled woman frowned and looked toward Old Man Hu. Old Man Hu laughed. "Fellow cultivator Zixin, don't blame me. If it was just for the reincarnation tree, I wouldn't follow you into the immortal graveyard. What I want is the reincarnation fruit." After he finished speaking, he looked toward Wang Lin and said, "Without Brother Wang, I am only 30% confident in succeeding, but if Brother Wang comes, I'll be 60% confident." Reincarnation fruit. Although Wang Lin's expression remained normal, his heart was moved. When he heard about the reincarnation tree, Wang Lin's mind began to work. Then when he heard the words reincarnation fruit, he was even more sure. He pondered for a bit and then said, "Is this the fruit that is the size of a fist and changes colors every 2 hours?" Old Man Hu's eyes lit up. He took a long look at Wang Lin and then said, "Brother Wang really is very knowledgeable. That is the way to identify the fruit. For U.S. soul formation cultivators, it is a great treasure. If it is eaten at the late stage of soul formation, it will increase one's chance of reaching the soul transformation stage by 30%. I have only seen it in some old text." Wang Lin pondered for a bit. From the memories of the ancient god, there were few fruits that were very good for a young ancient god. Due to the ancient god's bodies, most fruits were useless. Even celestial fruits could only increase their spiritual energy by a bit. Only a handful of spirit fruits could have any effect. While they wouldn't increase their cultivation level, if they smeared one of those fruits all over their body, it would strengthen their foundation. This was called body cleansing among the ancient gods. Normally, an adult ancient god finds a fruit and cleanses the body of a baby ancient god before they throw them into the core of a planet. An ancient god that has gone through body cleansing has their meridians completely hidden inside their body. As a result, the speed at which the ancient god absorbs spiritual energy increases greatly. The meridians only reappear when the ancient god reaches adulthood, and at that point, the rate at which they absorb spiritual energy will already have reached a terrifying degree. In ancient times, every single ancient god was hunted by every living thing, because wherever there was an ancient god, there would be no spiritual energy for anyone else. However, most things that try to kill an ancient god end up dying themselves. Only after going through body cleansing could Wang Lin's original body be considered a real ancient god. Wang Lin pondered for a bit before saying, "Immortal graveyard." Old Man Hu said, "This immortal graveyard is very dangerous. After all, there is a power there that even Suzaku dreads. However, as long as we don't go in too deep, then there shouldn't be too many powerful savage people." Wang Lin didn't know much about the immortal graveyard. He only knew from the map that the immortal graveyard was very large, and that compared to its surface, the underground portion was even larger. No one besides Suzaku knew exactly how many layers the immortal graveyard had. Brother Wang should know that these savages were the natives of this planet. When Suzaku became a rank 6 cultivation country, they were gifted this planet by the Cultivation Alliance. They then had a large war with the savages. This originally lively planet was ravaged during the war and has now turned into a half-wasted planet. All of this was caused by the savages. During this war, 90% of the savages were killed. The survivors then escaped into the immortal graveyard. Every 100 years, Suzaku sends countless cultivators to kill them, but they still can wipe them all out. The reincarnation tree grows underground and is considered holy by the savages. However, there are a total of 9 reincarnations trees, which give us a chance. As for the reincarnation fruit, as long as we can find a tree, I have a secret method for it to bear fruit within 3 hours. Wang Lin pondered for a bit. He looked toward the white-veiled woman and asked, "Why did your father go to the immortal graveyard?" The white-veiled woman whispered, "To get me a piece of reincarnation wood." Wang Lin didn't ask further questions. He pondered for a bit before saying to Old Man Hu, "I can make a decision right now." Old Man Hu nodded. "No problem. The immortal graveyard is indeed dangerous. I hesitated for a long time before making the decision as well. How about this? We will wait for you outside the immortal graveyard for 1 month. If you don't come, we will go on our own. Wang Lin nodded. Old Man Hu stood up and smiled. Then I won't bother you anymore. I'll wait for you there. With that, he clasped his hands and left. Qu Seeping and company quickly stood up and said their goodbyes. The white-veiled woman stood up, hesitated and whispered, Zixin hopes to see Senior there. She then flew up and left. The old man behind her clasped his hands and followed her. After the 6 of them left, Wang Lin picked up the teacup and took a sip. His eyes were sparkling. The reincarnation fruit is very useful for the original body. If I can obtain it, the original body's power will increase by a lot. He pondered for a bit before slapping his bag of holding. 3 carvings appeared in his hand. 6 of these time domain carvings have been destroyed, leaving only 3, so the power of the time domain that they can display has greatly weakened. Sadly, there are no 100-year-old trees to make new ones with. After putting away the wooden carvings, Wang Lin checked his bag and took out an arm. This arm had remained in good condition. There was even a thin layer of ice covering it, releasing a cold aura. Suzaku didn't act to help Red Butterfly but sent this challenge letter instead. It is indeed strange. Wang Lin pondered for a long time, but he couldn't think of why. It looks like a battle with Red Butterfly is inevitable, but as long as she hasn't reached the soul transformation stage, I'll have a chance to win. Wang Lin sneered. He then reached out and a stone chair flew over and landed before him. The chair looked like it was going to melt, but it morphed into a basin. Wang Lin put Red Butterfly's arm inside it. Then he formed a seal and black light appeared on his hand. Wang Lin pointed at the arm and the black light entered the arm. Subsequently, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and took out several small bottles. These bottles were things that Wang Lin had obtained during these past few hundred years. They contained the poison from a spirit beast. He broke the bottles open and poured out the contents. Red blood-like liquid came out and fused with the arm. Then Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He formed a seal that created a ghostly light. The ghostly light quickly took the shape of a skull and entered the arm. Wang Lin didn't stop. He continued to create skulls until 99 more of them had entered the arm one by one. The color of the arm suddenly changed from the original snow white to black and red. It looked terrifying, and there was now also a stench coming from it. Leo's speech is often puzzling. What with all the wishing for likes on the video and sharing Leo's work, leading the audience to erupt in laughter, the comments section filled with a lively atmosphere. Chapter 343 Country of Suzaku. After doing all of this, Wang Lin clenched his hands, causing the basin to morph into a container. The arm was now sealed inside it. At this very moment, in a location in Suzaku that looked like a painting, Red Butterfly was cultivating on top of a lotus. The area was surrounded by clear, blue water and luscious greens. There were even spirit beasts nearby. Inside the water were some carps with very long whiskers. Their eyes showed life. They clearly had gained intelligence. Red Butterfly was wearing a red robe. Only the sleeve for her right arm was empty. Sitting on a lotus facing her was a very handsome middle-aged man. He stared at Red Butterfly with tenderness in his eyes and said, "Junior apprentice sister Red Butterfly, I have given you the spirit of the Eastern Sea that will regrow your arm. Why haven't you used it?" Red Butterfly opened her eyes and coldly responded, "Every time I look at my empty sleeve, my urge to kill Xianxia increases. Until I kill him, my arm will stay missing. Senior apprentice brother Don T tried to change my mind." Xianxia. A hint of killing intent flashed through the middle-aged man's eyes. Xianxia wanted to destroy my Dao heart. However, because he took my arm, not only was my Dao heart not destroyed, it is now even more complete. I am glad that Mount Suzaku wants him to fight me. Red Butterfly raised her head and looked into the distance. Ishim, if it wasn't for Mount Suzaku, I would have already gone out and captured Xianxia for junior apprentice sister to kill. The middle-aged man's eyes were sparkling. Red Butterfly was about to speak when her expression suddenly changed. A black line with a sliver of red inside appeared in her forehead and quickly spread. Red Butterfly's left hand quickly pressed on her forehead. Her face constantly changed colors as she struggled. After a long time, the black line receded. There was a deep look of hatred on her face. Sang Niu is trying to injure me by refining my lost arm. Red Butterfly S left hand formed multiple seals and sent them to her forehead. After a long time, she struggled to stand up before sitting down again. She had a gloomy expression on her face. Junior apprentice sister, I am going to kill Sang Niu even if it is against Mount Suzaku's orders. At most, they will just punish me by making me go into closed-door cultivation for 100 years. The middle-aged man's heart ached as he turned around to leave. Red Butterfly whispered, Senior apprentice brother, if anyone's going to kill Sang Niu, it will be me. Mount Suzaku sent out 2 messages about Sang Niu. If you kill him, it won't be something as simple as 100 years of closed-door cultivation. The middle-aged man's expression was sullen as he sat back down again. However, he took out a piece of jade, recorded some information and threw it out. I won't go myself. I'll send out some cultivators from those lower-ranking cultivation countries. That way, Mount Suzaku can do anything to me either. Red Butterfly didn't respond. She closed her eyes to focus her attention on sealing in the black line that had invaded her. East of Suzaku, there was a mountain shaped like a bird. This mountain became known as Mount Suzaku. Mount Suzaku was the holy land of Suzaku. Everything that happened in Suzaku had to receive their approval. On this day, a white-robed young man arrived at the foot of the mountain. He was in a difficult position. He paced around the foot of the mountain for a while before climbing up the steps. Outside a palace midway up the mountain, the young man knelt down on one leg and said, Disciple Feng Yushan seeks an audience with elder. After a long time, a voice came out from the palace. What is it? Disciple was ordered by Mount Suzaku to send a challenge letter to Sang Niu. However, Sang Niu didn't accept it and delayed it by 10 years. Feng Yushan didn't dare to lie at all. The voice in the palace gloomily said, Sang Niu really doesn't know his place. You can leave. Someone else will bring him here. Feng Yushan's forehead was covered in sweat as he quickly left. Ziwu, go bring Sang Niu here. As the voice echoed in the palace, a person covered in fog suddenly appeared. Ziwu lazily asked, Dead or alive? The voice from the palace answered, However you like. Okay. Ziwu turned around and was about to leave. However, just at that moment, a red light came down from the top of Mount Suzaku and entered the palace. The owner of the voice from the palace was surprised. He slowly said, Wait! After a long time, a gentle snort came from the palace. Forget it, you don't have to go. We will wait 10 years for him. Ziwu shrugged his shoulders and disappeared within Mount Suzaku. Inside the palace sat an old man whose hair and eyebrows were now all white. He stared at the red jade in his hand and muttered, What kind of background does Sang Niu have for him to interfere 3 times? At this moment, Wang Lin was sitting cross-legged in the valley. Before him was a war chariot filled with spikes. Wang Lin stared at the war chariot with an unsettled expression. He tossed out the beast trap and the thunder toad landed on the side with a thud. The thunder toad's injuries had already healed, and its gaze toward Wang Lin contained a hint of gratitude. If it wasn't for Wang Lin's help, he would have died to the injuries from before. Wang Lin whispered, Thunder Toad, I am going to take away the beast trap. If you wish to stay, then follow me. If you don't, then you may leave, okay? The Thunder Toad nodded. Wang Lin formed several seals with both of his hands. The seals landed on the beast trap. A myriad of symbols began to spread out from the bracelet. In the end, a very strange thing happened before Wang Lin. The symbols formed rings with the largest one on the outside. Each ring was smaller than the previous one, and in the center was the beast trap. Release! Wang Lin shouted. Suddenly, the symbols began to spin. A sliver of green smoke came out from the beast trap. It moved through the symbols like it was escaping and entered the Thunder Toad. The Thunder Toad let out a roar and its eyes sparkled. The symbols didn't disappear but kept spinning. Wang Lin didn't look at the Thunder Toad. Instead, he looked at the war chariot. His right hand formed a seal and pointed at the chariot. Black mist appeared on the chariot. A pair of eyes could be seen within the mist. A deafening roar came from the chariot, and the beast spirit of the chariot appeared. This was the smallest beast spirit among the 3 chariots. It had been sealed by Wang Lin, but now that it was released, it locked onto Wang Lin. Its head had 3 horns, the body of an ox, and the tail of a dragon. There was even a face on the tail. Wang Lin calmly looked at the beast before dripping a drop of blood on the beast trap. Then, he pointed at the beast spirit of the chariot. The symbols from the beast trap suddenly shook and turned into a ray of light that began to spin around the beast spirit. The beast spirit let out many roars as it tried to struggle, but the black chains came out of the chariot and locked the beast down. The light formed by the symbols landed on the beast's body and released a golden glow. The roars from the beast became even more vicious. Some of the chains broke, but even more chains appeared to keep the beast completely locked down. In the end, all of the symbols landed on the beast's body and settled there. The beast was no longer struggling, but its eyes were even more vicious. Wang Lin's eyes were still calm. After those symbols were done settling, he whispered, "Return!" The symbols on the beast shined brightly. The colors of the symbols changed from golden to black as it flew into the beast trap. When the last symbol disappeared onto the beast trap, a new beast appeared on the bracelet. This beast looked exactly the same as the beast spirit of the war chariot. At the same time, the war chariot turned into a ray of black light and disappeared into the beast trap. Wang Lin took a deep breath before slapping his bag of holding and placing 8 top-quality spirit stones around him. The beast trap quickly flew toward him and wrapped around his right wrist. A force countless times stronger than the one he experienced with the Thunder Toad suddenly started consuming his spiritual energy. Wang Lin's body immediately began to shrink, and he started to turn into a mummy. However, his eyes were still clear. The 8 top-quality spirit stones around him shined brightly. A crazy amount of spiritual energy entered his body and went into the beast trap. This process lasted 3 days. 3 days later, the force slowly started to disappear. Wang Lin's body slowly recovered as well. One of the 8 top-quality spirit stones shattered and turned to dust. Wang Lin opened his eyes with a hint of worry. When he looked at the beast trap on his right wrist, his eyes became cold. The suction was powerful enough to use up a top-quality spirit stone. God-slaying war chariot, I'll have to find the time to see if you are fitting of that name. Wang Lin pondered for a bit. He didn't put the 7 top-quality spirit stones away, but kept them on him. From what he knew of the beast trap, it would likely suck spiritual energy from him after every use. It would be best to keep the spirit stones on him just in case. Wang Lin touched the beast trap. Then he stood up and looked at the Thunder Toad. Throughout these 3 days, the Thunder Toad hadn't moved at all. It had guarded Wang Lin the entire time. When he saw Wang Lin standing up, the Thunder Toad picked Wang Lin up with its head, so Wang Lin was now riding on its back. Wang Lin smiled. "Do you want to follow me?" The Thunder Toad's stomach expanded and it let out a roar as a reply. "Good. From today onward, I'll treat you the same as the mosquito beast." He slapped his bag of holding, and the mosquito beast came out. He hadn't seen the mosquito beast in many years. It seemed to have grown. Its body was now the size of a small hill. 2 note. Suzaku is a type of bird, so the mountain shaped like a bird really says it's shaped like a Suzaku. This will get a bit complicated later on, because the person who's the strongest cultivator in the planet has the title of Suzaku. Leo holds a stuffed bear close to his chest, muttering prayers for likes on the video, sprinkling followers in his shares, as the children beside him start to crave. Chapter Do You Still Remember Wealth? Its giant proboscis looked very threatening. The mosquito beast was very wary of the Thunder Toad, so it kept on letting out sounds. The Thunder Toad looked at the mosquito beast with a provoking expression. Wang Lin faintly smiled and jumped down from the Thunder Toad. He ignored the 2 beasts staring at each other and walked toward the pagoda. Standing in front of it, he clasped his hands, took a deep breath, and said, "Senior Junior was asked by Senior Zhou Yi to look after you for 1,000 years. The immortal graveyard will be very dangerous, so I would like to ask Senior to lend me a celestial sword." With that, Wang Lin bowed and walked into the pagoda. At the top floor, Wang Lin saw the white-robed female corpse. The female corpse was lying on a bed of celestial jade. There was no movement at all. Beside her were 2 celestial swords, one big and one small, releasing waves of celestial spiritual energy. Looking at the 2 celestial swords, Wang Lin began to ponder. His gaze locked onto the larger sword more than the smaller one. Wang Lin felt like this large sword looked familiar when he first saw it. However, it was too dangerous to really think about it back then. After he came back, he was with Li Muan the whole time, so he didn't have time to think about anything else. Now that he was looking at it after everything was over, that feeling of familiarity was even stronger. I must have seen this sword somewhere before. Wang Lin pondered for a long time before reaching out to the sword. There wasn't any discomfort as he held the large celestial sword in his hand. This sword could no longer be considered a sword but a rectangular sign. Sign? Wang Lin was startled and began to ponder. After a long time, his eyes lit up and he shouted, "Wealth!" It was wealth. When Wang Lin was in the Hengyu sect, he was given a token from his master to pick out a flying sword. The one he picked was the most ridiculous flying sword in the Hengyu sect. Wealth! Wang Lin walked down the pagoda filled with confusion. He stood outside the pagoda staring at the large sword. Memories from more than 400 years ago played in his mind. Thinking back to the moment when he first saw wealth, he felt very regretful. He could still recall the full golden body sword. However, it didn't shine because of the quality of the sword. It was due to the layer of gold coating the surface. The gold wasn't even used to hide a valuable sword. What was under the gold was the most common kind of iron. Holding the sword in his hand, Wang Lin remembered 2 giant gems on the hilt of wealth. However, the 2 gems had no spiritual energy at all. They were only there for looks. Even the tassels of wealth were made from pieces of gold. Wealth disappeared within the void when Wang Lin's bag of holding was destroyed. If it wasn't for this celestial sword, Wang Lin wouldn't have remembered wealth. However, looking at it now, besides the 2 giant gems and the gold tassels, the 2 swords were shockingly similar. Wang Lin's eyes sparkled. He didn't believe that this was a coincidence. Could it be that the creator of wealth once saw this celestial sword? But that made no sense either. That senior from Zhao must have only been a nascent soul cultivator at most. How could he have gone to the celestial realm and seen the sword that was hidden until the white-robed woman called for it? Wang Lin began to ponder. He began to recall the life of that senior that was recorded on the sign next to wealth. That person was originally useless in the Hengyu sect, but was able to save the Hengyu sect from a disaster once. Then he died and left behind this large sword for future disciples. A completely useless person was able to save the Hengyu sect. I didn't think about it too much back then, but thinking about it now, that senior must have had some secret. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He once again looked at the celestial sword in his hand. This celestial sword has already lost its soul, so it says a lot weaker. If I want to use it at its full power, I need a sword soul for it. Thinking about this, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding. "Come out!" Shu-li-gu! A pillar of gray smoke shot out from the bag and turned into Shu-li-guo. After he came out, he pounded his chest. He had a very excited look in his eyes. Shu-li-guo roared a few times. "I am finally out, haha." At this moment, the thunder toad and the mosquito beast that were staring at each other turned around and looked at Shu-li-guo. Shu-li-guo quickly became quiet when he saw the 2 beasts. Wang Lin's right hand reached out and grabbed Shu-li-guo. Shu-li-guo let out a scream as Wang Lin threw him into the celestial sword. The sword suddenly trembled, and the golden color on it dimmed. Wang Lin frowned and pointed at his brow. Wandering souls came out one by one and entered the celestial sword. The sword's color darkened again. Soon, it became black. Wang Lin pressed his right hand on the sword. After pondering for a while, he muttered to himself, using wandering souls as the sword spirit can only activate a part of the sword's power. If I use a soul devourer, then I should be able to use more of its power. Sadly, I don't have enough time, but I must go capture a soul devourer in the future. Wang Lin stood up and put the sword away. He then touched the pagoda, causing it to immediately shrink. He put it away inside his bag of holding. Then Wang Lin took a breath, put away the thunder toad and mosquito beast, and then disappeared. In the old Zhou's house at the apricot flower village, a woman was looking at a baby girl with a tender gaze. "Ru-er, your dad went to get you some ginseng to help nourish your body. I don't know what is wrong with this child for her body to be so weak." The woman was holding the baby while singing a song from their village. The baby girl's breathing was steady. It seemed she had already fallen asleep. After making sure that the baby had completely fallen asleep, the woman put the baby down and kissed her on the forehead before going to the kitchen to prepare food. Just as the woman left, another person appeared in the room. Wang Lin stared at the baby girl with tenderness in his eyes. His hand trembled as he gently touched the baby and whispered, "Wan, I forgot what day, month, and year it was that we met outside the Sea of Devils, but I remember your smiling yet sad expression toward me." The baby girl's eyelashes trembled as her clear eyes opened and silently stared at Wang Lin. Because her nascent soul was asleep, the body was too weak to hold any of her memories. Although even though she couldn't remember his name, his voice, or his appearance, the feeling of him was something forever engraved in her. The baby girl's gaze toward Wang Lin was no longer clear, but filled with confusion. Even she didn't notice the tear that fell from eye. Wang Lin's heart ached as he stared at the baby girl. "You gave me one teardrop and I was able to see everything in your heart." Wang Lin looked at the baby girl for a very long time. Time passed by, but she was still holding her gaze. "I'll come to pick you up," Wang Lin softly whispered before leaving. Just as he left, water filled the baby girl's eyes and she began to cry. The woman who was cooking in the other room quickly came into the room, picked up the baby girl, and started to comfort her. The baby girl's cry soon stopped, but she was still looking toward outside the room. Her eyes are filled with confusion. Taiyan sat down cross-legged in the cave while he guarded the baby girl. He had gotten used to being in half-closed-door cultivation for the last year. Half a year ago, Yufei messaged him to switch, but he rejected the offer. After Taiyan entered the cultivation world, he hadn't experienced anything like what he had experienced in this last year. He had his divine sense spread out across the whole village every day. He knew every household and every person in the village. This feeling was very mysterious. In fact, Taiyan had recently given up cultivating and had immersed himself in the mortal world. Wang Lin walked into the cave. When he saw Taiyan, his eyes suddenly became focused. Taiyan quickly stood up to greet Wang Lin. Wang Lin said, "Not bad compared to Lu Fei. All you have to do is keep this up and you can reach the soul formation stage. However, remember that you have to reach the peak of the late stage of nascent soul first." Taiyan was startled. He quickly nodded. Wang Lin pondered for a bit before taking out a time-domain carving. He said, "I am giving this to you. Study it well." Taiyan quietly stared at the wooden carving. Wang Lin sat on top of the mosquito beast and flew toward the immortal graveyard. At this moment, inside the Sea of Devils, there was something stirring within the chaotic broken stars. In the Sea of Blood inside the land of the ancient god. The Sea of Blood looked very different from before. Most of the pillars were gone. Only the one Ta Sen was sitting on was left. There were less than 100 cultivators inside the Sea of Blood. Each of them had a red splinter on their forehead. All of them were silently cultivating. Among these people, there were a lot of people that Wang Lin was familiar with, such as Ancient Emperor. Each of them were releasing a demonic aura that smelled like blood. As they cultivated, the blood in the blood sea slowly entered their bodies. On the pillar that Ta Sen was sitting on sat a man with long red hair. His head was down. On the ground below him there were countless words carved by his fingernails. It was just one word carved over and over again. Wang Lin. This red-haired man was Ta Sen, the one who obtained the inheritance of strength from the ancient god. His hair covered his face, but his eyes filled with hatred were visible. Wang Lin, the lifespan of the ancient goddess body is reaching its limit. Once that happens, I will be able to escape from here. Wang Lin, you better not die. Continue keeping that inheritance of knowledge safe for me. Leo's birthday has passed. Thank you all for your blessings, your praise. Leo will continue to strive, producing increasingly captivating chapters. Brothers, keep your sharp tongues sheathed, stored away carefully. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 345 Savages. The Immortal Graveyard was a mountain range surrounded by thick, black fog. It was very quiet inside the mountain range, and there were no signs of life. This kind of silence was too scary. Deep inside the mountain range was a giant hole. Old Man Hu's group of 6 sat outside this hole. Compared to the hole, they looked very insignificant. Old Man Hu sat cross-legged. He had been waiting here for almost 1 month. Although they had encountered no dangers along the way, something was making his skin crawl during the trip. As a soul formation cultivator, he didn't believe that this kind of feeling would occur for no reason. Now that he was near the hole, that feeling was even stronger. Old Man Hu thought, adding fellow cultivator Wang, there will be 3 soul formation cultivators. As long as we don't go in too deep, there shouldn't be an issue. Many years ago, he came here and went to the 3rd floor. Although there were many dangers, he was able to obtain the thing he was looking for, and then he left. This was why he was willing to come here. However, Old Man Hu was starting to regret it right now. His expression gradually darkened as he looked at the hole before him. Old Man Hu turned to the white-veiled woman next to him. Zixin, are you sure the reincarnation tree is on the 3rd floor? The white-veiled woman nodded and whispered, I remember clearly that back when my father took me there, I saw a wilted reincarnation tree. However, his cultivation wasn't strong enough, so we left. Old Man Hu pondered. The 3rd floor wasn't too dangerous. It should be safe as long as they don't go to the 4th floor. Also, the reincarnation tree had wilted, so there would probably be no savages guarding it. He didn't tell Wang Lin about any of these things in detail. Old Man Hu turned and faced the hole. Just at this moment, a sonic boom came from the distance, attracting everyone's attention. They saw a beast the size of a hill suddenly appear before them. On the back of the beast was a young man in white. This person was Wang Lin. Old Man Hu revealed a happy expression as he said, since Brother Wang came, then our trip will succeed for sure. Wang Lin jumped off the mosquito. He smiled at everyone and said, I made everyone wait. I encountered some small problems along the way. Oh, really? Old Man Hu's eyes became focused. Wang Lin waved his right hand and threw a head on the ground. This head had very dark skin, like it was covered in dirt. The eyes were filled with rage, and there was a vine-like tattoo on his face. Savages! Old Man Hu's expression changed. Wang Lin said, I found this person following me after I entered the immortal graveyard. He was trying to ambush me. Old Man Hu stepped forth and pointed at the head's brow. The tattoo on the head began to slowly gather on its forehead until it formed the image of a half-leaf. Old Man Hu's face was gloomy as he said, he is not a savage but a cultivator who is refined by the savages. Oh? Wang Lin looked at the head. Shu Luo hesitated before asking, Ancestor, how did you know? Could it be the leaf? Not only him but everyone else except the white-veiled woman revealed a look of confusion. Old Man Hu's expression was serious as he pointed at the leaf on the head's forehead and said, I haven't seen a real savage before, but I've read some ancient texts that only someone with at least 3 leaves has blood pure enough to be a real savage. The rest are formed by refining cultivators. However, even these kinds of savages shouldn't appear here. They should only start appearing on the 2nd floor. An invisible pressure appeared in everyone's heart as they looked at the head on the ground. Old Man Hu hesitated for a bit before his eyes lit up, and he said, Brother Wang, we have to take risks to get riches. Let us go down. Wang Lin pondered for a bit and then nodded. Old Man Hu jumped into the hole first, followed by Wang Lin and then everyone else. This hole was very deep. As Wang Lin fell, he could see vine-like vegetation growing on the walls. It didn't take long for them to land on the ground. This was a plain-like area, but the ground was black, the sky was black, and the surroundings were completely silent. Although it was very dim here, it didn't obstruct the cultivator's eyesight at all. Wang Lin crouched down and grabbed a handful of dirt. The dirt here was very hard, like it was metal. Old Man Hu said, the 1st floor is normally safe, but since there were savages outside, we must be careful here. Wang Lin spread out his divine sense. This place was very large, so his divine sense couldn't cover it all. Old Man Hu and Zixin talked for a bit to confirm that the entrance to the next floor was to the east before they all headed east. Along the way, Qiu Siping and company flew closely together and were constantly on guard. Only Wang Lin, Old Man Hu, and the black-robed old man were still calm. As for the white-veiled woman, she had been in a daze since she arrived here, as if she was recalling something. The 7 of them flew for a while before Wang Lin's eyes suddenly lit up and he looked at something behind them. He saw a dark light chasing after them. When the light got close, it dissipated and turned into a savage with black hair. He was wearing a beast skin. There were some black streak marks on the savage's arms and legs. He reached out and tried to grab Shu Luo. Shu Luo's expression changed. He opened his mouth and spat out a ray of light. There was a flying sword inside that ray of light, and it lunged toward the savage. The savage made a strange movement and dodged the sword as his hand swiped down. Shu Luo quickly backed up. 5 straight rips appeared on his clothes, revealing something shiny underneath them. He was wearing armor under the clothes. After finishing the attack, the savage quickly retreated. Old Man Hu snorted. Stay here? He didn't move but reached out with his right hand. The savage let out a strange roar as the marks on his arms and legs began to move. Black smoke came out from the marks and entered his body. Then he swung his arm. The black smoke gathered on his fist, and then a punch was thrown out. Old Man Hu's expression remained calm, but a hint of killing intent appeared in his eyes. He clenched his fist, and the savage's right hand was crushed into a bloody pulp. The savage let out a miserable scream and quickly retreated. Old Man Hu's right finger pointed at the savage and shot out a ray of spiritual energy. The spiritual energy landed on the savage's chest, causing the savage to fall over. Old Man Hu stepped up and pointed at the savage's forehead. The marks on the savage's body gathered on his forehead and a complete leaf appeared. Old Man Hu said, "It looks like some changes we don't know of has occurred inside this immortal graveyard. These one-leaf savages didn't appear until the second floor before." Shu Luo touched his chest and revealed a hint of fear. To be able to dodge a flying sword, this savage was too fast. If he wasn't wearing this armor, the savage would have ripped his chest open. 3 days later, the 7 of them arrived at the entrance to the second floor. Along the way, they had encountered a total of 9 savages. These savages had appeared out of thin air. Even with their divine senses spread out, it was impossible to notice them until they had appeared. Of the 9 savages, they were all one-leaf savages besides the last one. The last savage appeared near the entrance to the second floor. This savage had more tattoos than the rest, especially on his right arm, which was covered in tattoos. These tattoos looked like runes to Wang Lin. After killing this savage, Wang Lin found 2 leaves on his forehead. This person's strength was like that of a late-stage core formation cultivator. The second floor of the immortal graveyard was not very different from the first floor. It was still very dark here. However, there was an aura that would make one feel very irritated. This aura had no effect on Wang Lin, but it had a big effect on Shu Luo and company. Wang Lin was very confused as to why Old Man Hu brought Shu Luo and the woman here. They were only at the core formation stage, so any mistake could get them killed. Wang Lin didn't ask much about this. With his personality, unless it was pretty effortless to help, he wouldn't do anything risky to save them. On the second floor, they would occasionally spot beast bones and even some rotting corpses of beasts. They were all very different from the ones in the Sea of Devils. Wang Lin didn't recognize any of them. Just as they entered the second floor, Wang Lin was startled because a dark light appeared 100 feet from them. The light didn't try to get any closer but turned into a savage. This savage looked very different from the ones on the first floor. More than 1/4 of his body was covered in black flowery tattoos. His eyes were also not red but very clear. However, if one looked closely, they would see a mysterious light in them. This savage was not the same type as the ones from the first floor. The ones from the first floor, even the 2-leaf one, all had red eyes and were completely insane. They would attack them even when they knew the difference in strength. However, this person didn't get close but gloomily looked at them from feet away. He took a few extra looks at the white-veiled woman. The white-veiled woman suddenly said, "Savage, a real savage." The marks on his body have already reached the level of a 3-leaf, which is the same as a nascent soul cultivator. Leo truly didn't realize today was May 20th. Leo's already married, not caring about this day at all. Truly no intention. Truly no intention. I'm already married. Yes, just like that. CHIRP, CHIRP, CHIRP. Chapter 346 Shaman. That savage stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. He let out a scream and soon dozens of black lights appeared. They turned into savages with tattoos on their arms and legs. They all jumped at Wang Lin and company. The 3-leaf savage sneered as he coldly looked at the scene. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He quickly went around those savages and charged toward the 3-leaf savage. The 3-leaf savage didn't panic at all. He rubbed the marks on his body and a beast's skin appeared in his hand. A complex chant came out of this person's mouth, and the beast's skin suddenly turned into a ball of fire that smashed toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's body was caught by the fire. Another beast skin appeared in the 3-leaf savage's hand. He bit the tip of his finger, drew a few lines of blood on the beast skin, and then threw it out again. The fire suddenly became fiercer. However, just at this moment, Wang Lin walked out of the ball of fire. The fire couldn't even get close to him. As Wang Lin walked out, the ball of fire grew smaller and smaller until it went out. The 3-leaf savage was stunned, so he quickly retreated by turning into a black light. How could Wang Lin let him escape? He quickly teleported to catch up. As for the rest of the savages that attacked them, They had all been killed by Old Man Hu with just a wave of his sleeve. Wang Lin came back with the head of the three-leaf savage and threw it on the ground. He coldly looked at the white-veiled woman and said, "Fellow cultivator Zixin, since you were able to recognize the rank of this savage, please tell us everything you know." The white-veiled woman nodded and said, "It is not that I didn't want to say it before, but after coming in here I seem to have remembered some things. The savages here are different from U.S. cultivators. They are split into two types, shamans and warriors. That person is a three-leaf shaman. Their power comes from the black tattoos on their bodies. The more tattoos they have, the stronger they are. As for these tattoos, they are made from the blood of demonic beasts. Thus they obtain the power of these beasts." Just at this moment, a sonic boom came from the distance. A black light quickly arrived from the distance and turned into a giant face. The eyes of that face quickly locked onto the head on the ground. Then the face sucked and the head began to move like it was alive. Soon, the head was sucked in by the face. Old Man Hu snorted. He was about to move up when his expression suddenly changed. Wang Lin's expression was also very ugly. In the distance, there were 5 black lights. They had also turned into giant faces that coldly stared at them. The white-veiled woman's voice trembled. "These are 5-leaf shamans. They read the same as soul formation cultivators. Everyone split up and meet at the entrance to the 3rd floor. The entrance is at the northern end." Old Man Hu said this very quickly before grabbing Shu Luo and the woman. He quickly escaped and Qiu Siping quickly followed. Wang Lin didn't say anything as he turned and left. Seeing everyone leaving, the faces split up, chasing everyone. The one chasing Wang Lin was the one that arrived first. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. After flying for a while, he stopped and turned to face the face that was chasing him. He slapped his bag of holding, and the restriction flag appeared in his hand. He waved the flag, and a large cloud of restriction gas surrounded his body. At the same time, the thunder toad flew out of the bag of holding with its stomach expanded. It opened its mouth toward the savage shaman, and a ball of lightning charged out with a sonic boom. The giant face's eyes revealed a mysterious light as dark mass gathered in front of him, forming a giant shield. The ball of lightning collided with the shield. Bang! The shield trembled and cracks appeared. More black mass quickly gathered on the shield. After the ball of light disappeared, the black mass condensed even more and a person walked out of it. This person was middle-aged with his hair casually hanging behind him. More than half of his body was covered in tattoos, but the tattoos weren't directly on his body. They were floating slightly above his skin. The tattoos looked very messy. It was clear that more than one layer of tattoos was laid down. His face was the same. Half of his face was covered in tattoos. The middle-aged man slowly said, "Invaders of this planet, you guys broke the agreement. 100 years haven't passed yet, so anyone who enters will die." Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He couldn't find any spiritual energy in this person's body, but the tattoos gave him a sense of danger. The middle-aged man's right hand swiped the tattoos on his body. The tattoos flew off his body and began to rapidly spin around his right arm. The middle-aged man's left hand quickly moved and pointed at some of the tattoos on his right arm. The tattoos that were hit began to shine and quickly spread out. The tattoos encircled an area about 100 feet in diameter. Then the tattoos suddenly closed in and charged toward Wang Lin. The restriction gas around Wang Lin quickly turned into dragons and charged at the tattoos. Bang, bang, bang! A series of explosions suddenly began. Every time the restriction gas and a tattoo collided, they would both disappear. "What's this?" The middle-aged man frowned. He grabbed a tattoo, turned it into a beast's skin in his hand and threw it out. This beast's skin quickly began to burn, causing the speed of the flying tattoos to increase. After a series of explosions, Wang Lin had less restriction gas. Wang Lin was still calm. He was watching the tattoos. His eyes lit up and he thought, so these savages use these tattoos to attack. Although there is no spiritual energy within the tattoos, there is some other mysterious power inside. After seeing the savage throw the beast's skin, a hint of killing intent appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. He slapped his bag of holding, and a giant celestial sword appeared before him. He grabbed the celestial sword, let out a roar, and swung it down. A bang like the sky was splitting open could be heard, and a ray of black light swung down. The middle-aged man's expression changed greatly as he quickly moved his hand. The tattoos returned to him and quickly formed many shields. However, the moment the celestial sword swung down, The black light passed by, and all of the shields shattered. The middle-aged man let out a scream. Without any hesitation, he turned into a black mass. The black mass turned into a face that quickly retreated. But the black light still reached the black mass. A miserable scream came from within it. It slowed down for a bit, but it quickly sped up again. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He didn't chase. His gaze fell on the Thunder Toad. The power of the sword wasn't able to kill him. That swing was something most late-stage soul formation cultivators couldn't block without a good defensive treasure. That 5-leaf savage is powerful. The Thunder Toad jumped into the air and its stomach expanded. It then spat out a ball of lightning at the fleeing black mass. The ball of lightning shot out and entered the black mass. Bang! An earth-shattering roar came from the black mass. The black mass dissipated, and the face inside disappeared as well. Wang Lin landed along with the Thunder Toad. The smell of blood was spreading from where the explosion happened. The middle-aged man was killed by the ball of lightning. Wang Lin pondered for a bit before putting away the Thunder Toad. He flew north with his divine sense spread out. Several hours later, his expression suddenly changed as he looked to his right. Then he quickly moved like a meteor. There were 2 savages there. One of them had white hair and 2/3 of its body was covered in tattoos. Beside him was a young man. The young man only had 1/4 of his body covered in tattoos. Before the 2 of them was a puddle of mud. Bubbles would occasionally appear and then pop. The 2 of them immediately noticed Wang Lin. The young man was startled. He looked at the old man beside him and didn't speak. The old man's eyes were clear. He took one look at Wang Lin and no longer bothered with him as he looked toward the mud puddle. Just at this moment, a dragon-like creature jumped out of the mud and charged toward the old man. The old man's expression remained calm as he slapped the tattoos on his body with his right hand. The tattoos on his body quickly moved and became a large knife in his right hand. Holding the large knife, the old man jumped forward and slashed at the dragon. The dragon moved its head, dodging the knife, and smashed into the old man. The moment the dragon hit the old man's body exploded into countless tattoos that spread out. Wang Lin's eyes became serious. All of the techniques he saw the savages use were very different from cultivators. The old man's body had become countless tattoos, and they all entered the dragon's body. The dragon roared in pain. Its large body charged out of the mud puddle and splashed around a large amount of mud. The young savage dodged the mud and looked at the dragon with a serious expression. Soon, the dragon became weak. Shortly after, countless tattoos came out of its body to form the old man again. It was as if the dragon had given birth to the old man. When the last tattoo returned to his body, he jumped down from the dragon and sliced its head. A large amount of blood sprayed out from the dragon's head. The young man cheered and ran forward. He covered himself in fresh blood and his tattoos moved as if they were alive. Shortly after, the young man sat down to cultivate and then began to draw tattoos according to the ones on his body. Soon, the old tattoos were replaced by new ones. Seeing this, Wang Lin suddenly thought of one person. Leo continues to read. Today is Monday, wishing for just a few more likes and followers for the VIDEO channel. Chapter 347, Forsaken Immortal Clan. He thought back to when he took Teng Li's foundation, when he saw that blue-skinned freak. The tattoos on the young man's body released a ghostly light and began to shine brighter. After a while, the light dimmed. The tattoos moved around and covered more of the young man's body. The young man's eyes were filled with excitement as he said something to the old man in a strange language. After hearing this strange language, Wang Lin was sure that that freak from back then was related to them, because his language was the same as this. The savage elder nodded. He rubbed the young man's head, and then looked at Wang Lin. He then looked at the beast trap on Wang Lin's wrist. He put his hand over his chest, bowed, and said, "Hello, outsider. I am Kamel of the Forsaken Immortal Clan, 6-leaf shaman." Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He clasped his hands and said, "Hello, I am Wang Lin, soul formation cultivator." The old man looked at Wang Lin and said, "It is not yet time for the 100-year contract. Every cultivator who enters must die. However, since you didn't take this chance to attack us when my disciple was absorbing the blood, I won't make it hard on you. As long as you don't go to the 3rd floor and leave now, there is still a chance for you to live." "Oh, really?" Wang Lin's eyes lit up. The old man said, "Even if your companions make it to the 3rd floor, They 1T make it out alive. There are 7 leaf shamans from my tribe on the 3rd floor. They are the same as soul transformation cultivators. Wang Lin pondered and then said, "Many thanks." With that, he pointed at the young man and said, "He used the blood from the beast to make tattoos just now. Is that the secret technique of your forsaken immortal clan?" The old man nodded and said, "That is correct. My forsaken immortal clan uses the tattoos to absorb the powers from these beasts. The stronger the beast, the more power we gain." Wang Lin looked at the old man, clasped his hands and disappeared. That young man stared at the direction where Wang Lin disappeared. A trace of killing intent appeared in his eyes, and then he said, "Master, why didn't you capture him and turn him into the chief?" The old man shook his head. "Your tattoo's power is still too weak to see the tattoo soul behind him. Someone who can kill a 5-leaf shaman without getting hurt is not someone I have confidence in capturing. Also, if we were to start fighting, you would be in danger." The killing intent in the young man's eyes became even stronger. "I'm not afraid of death. Death is only returning to the tattoos." The old man rubbed the young man's head with a gentle gaze in his eyes and said, "Our tribe is not strong enough. There are other more powerful tribes that will deal with him. I also felt a powerful soul force from the bronze bracelet on his wrist, so it is best to not mess with him." The young man nodded and said, "One day, we will kill our way out and kick these outsiders from this planet." The old man looked toward where Wang Lin had disappeared. He let out a sigh and didn't say anything else. Wang Lin flew through the 2nd floor. After pondering a bit, he flew toward the entrance to the 3rd floor instead of leaving. His goal this trip was the reincarnation fruit. If he were to just leave like this, he would feel very frustrated. Wang Lin flew very fast and arrived at the northern end of the 2nd floor. From far away, he was able to see the entrance to the next floor. This place was covered in bodies and smelled like blood. This was combined with an irritating aura that seemed like a killing intent-like aura. Old Man Hu sat down cross-legged near the entrance. His eyes were closed and his face was filled with pain. Shu Luo was behind him looking like a mess. There were cuts all over his armor and some were even bleeding. The woman's hair was a mess, and there were 3 lines on her face. It was like she had been clawed by a beast. Qiu Siping was also among them. Although he was better than those 2, his breathing was unstable. He was clearly injured. The 3 of them were carefully looking at Old Man Hu with fear in their eyes. Beside them was a giant beast that looked like a black turtle. It was Old Man Hu's mount. There were many wounds on this beast. It carefully observed its surroundings with its vicious eyes, and would occasionally let out a few threatening growls. Wang Lin's arrival caught the attention of the beast. The beast turned its vicious gaze toward Wang Lin and growled in a threatening manner. Soon after, it stood up and roared at Wang Lin. Wang Lin frowned. At this moment, Qiu Siping and company saw Wang Lin. They all revealed joyous expressions, but none of them dared to move. Wang Lin asked, "What is the matter?" Qiu Siping looked at Old Man Hu and said, "Brother Wang, along the way, Old Man Hu killed 2 5-leaf shamans. Then he killed another one at the entrance. However, this one seemed to have used a technique on Old Man Hu to make his mind unclear." Wang Lin frowned even harder and walked forward. The turtle immediately let out a roar and took a deep breath. A powerful suction force sucked in air from all directions and a ball of air was formed before the turtle. The turtle shot the ball of air toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin snorted. He slapped his bag of holding and the thunder toad and mosquito beast immediately flew out. Without the need for orders, the thunder toad spat out a ball of lightning that collided with the ball of air. With a bang, a shockwave spread out. The mosquito beast let out a roar, went around the shockwave, and lunged toward the turtle with its sharp mouth. After the collision, Old Man Hu opened his eyes. His eyes were bloodshot, and there were tattoos covering the whites of his eyes. After he saw Wang Lin, he jumped on him like a mad beast. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He slapped his bag of holding and took out the restriction flag. Restriction gas appeared and formed a cage that trapped Old Man Hu. Old Man Hu's eyes became even redder. He swiped his hand to try to break the cage. Wang Lin pointed forward and said, "Trap." More restriction gas quickly came out and reinforced the cage. Every time Old Man Hu tore one layer off, more layers were added on. Wang Lin shouted, "Fellow cultivator Hu, still not sober yet?" His voice was like thunder. It went through the restriction gas and entered Old Man Hu's ears. Old Man Hu's hand immediately stopped. But just at this moment, the tattoo in his eyes shined, causing old man Hu's eyes to become red again. However, there was something mysterious about his eyes this time. Brother Wang, the shaman I killed, advanced to the 6-leaf stage right before his death and cast a curse on me to try to refine me into a puppet. This technique is very tyrannical. If we were in the Sea of Devils, I would only need a few years to remove this curse. However, with this irritating aura here, I am unable to calm myself down. This curse will only break at the moment of a life or death crisis, so, Brother Wang, attack now. His body was trembling. It looked like he was struggling to keep control. Wang Lin's eyes became focused as he touched his bag of holding. The black celestial sword appeared in his hand. After having the wandering souls enter the sword, even people who had seen the sword before would have trouble recognizing it. With the celestial sword in his hand, he stared at Old Man Hu trapped inside the restriction gas and sliced down. The celestial sword glowed black and seemed to have extended in length as it sliced down. The restriction gas quickly got out of the way as the black light passed by, leaving Old Man Hu in the open. The tattoos in his eyes were flashing rapidly. In almost a blink of an eye, the tattoos in Old Man Hu's eyes disappeared, and then a drop of blood came out of his forehead, went down his nose, and fell to the ground. The celestial sword stopped 3 inches above Old Man Hu's head. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He waved his hand and the celestial sword disappeared. Without a word, Old Man Hu took out a bottle of pills. After taking a few deep breaths, he sat down to cultivate. Wang Lin raised his head and looked into the distance while he waited for Old Man Hu to cultivate. The fear in Qiyu, Seeping, and Company's eyes had reached its limit, so none of them dared to move. Even the turtle was terrified and no longer dared to growl. The mosquito beast took this opportunity to poke into the turtle's neck to viciously suck out some blood. Only then was he satisfied enough to return to the thunder toad's side. Half an hour later, Old Man Hu opened his eyes. His eyes were clear now. He got up, clasped his hands, and said, "Thank you, Brother Wang." Although he looked calm, he now dreaded Wang Lin even more in his heart. If Wang Lin's sword had gone down 3 more inches, he would have died on the spot. Although this was because he wasn't resisting or using any magic treasures, that feeling of life and death was engraved into his heart. Old Man Hu thought, "I seems fame doesn't lie. It is no wonder the name Sang Yu was able to become so famous. He is indeed very powerful." Wang Lin smiled and said, "No problem." 1 day later, the white-veiled woman and black-cloaked old man still hadn't arrived. After talking with Wang Lin, they decided to not wait any longer. Although Old Man Hu didn't know the exact location of the reincarnation tree, he roughly knew where it was. So they decided that they might as well search and wait at the same time. Wang Lin nodded in agreement. Everyone entered the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor was a red world. The dirt had some mysterious property that let it release a red glow. Thus, when one looked at the 3rd floor, everything was red. Old Man Hu said, in a serious tone, "The immortal graveyard is very dangerous right now. If the 2nd floor had 5-leaf shamans, the 3rd floor might even have 6-leaf shamans. We have to travel quickly and leave immediately after we find the reincarnation tree." Then he looked at Wang Lin and continued, "Fellow cultivator Wang, to tell you the truth, Shuluo and Yunmeng are keys to making the reincarnation fruit appear. Each of them have over 100 years of life left. By giving up 60 years, they can make the reincarnation fruit grow. This is why I brought them here. Later, each of us will take one of them and quickly find the reincarnation tree." Qiyu Siping secretly complained, but didn't dare to say anything. He knew that he was nothing in Old Man Hu's eyes. Later on, he would just have to do his best to keep up, because if he is left behind, he will definitely die. "Leo has a nasal inflammation, and a cold again. My nose is just like a running faucet. Frustrated." Chapter 348, Reincarnation Tree. After Old Man Hu finished speaking, he grabbed Shu Luo and teleported to the west. Qiyu Siping clenched his teeth and quickly followed with a teleport as well. The only one left was the beautiful Yun Meng. She walked up to Wang Lin and whispered, "Many thanks, Senior." Wang Lin remained calm. He grabbed her and felt her slim waist. He still remained calm and said, "Close your eyes." The woman quickly closed her eyes, but her face was slightly red. She had never been this close to a man before. Wang Lin's scent entered her nose, causing her face to become even redder. After grabbing her, Wang Lin took a step and disappeared. The woman felt the wind blowing by her ears like a knife along with waves of spiritual energy, but the wind soon disappeared. The woman's eyelashes trembled as she opened her eyes. She saw a gentle blue light covering her body, protecting her from the raging wind. She secretly raised her head to look at Wang Lin. Although he wasn't too handsome, there was a mysterious aura around him. This was a mysterious change that happened to all soul formation cultivators. This change depended on the domain they obtained. While flying, Wang Lin noticed the woman's gaze, but he didn't look down. His eyes were focused on Qiu Siping. The distance between him and Old Man Hu kept on widening. With Qiu Siping's cultivation, there was no way for him to keep up with a soul formation cultivator. There was a trace of anxiety in Qiu Siping's eyes. When he saw Wang Lin catching up, he quickly said, "Brother Wang, help me, help me. I am willing to give you treasures in exchange." Wang Lin originally didn't want to bother with him. After all, they weren't that familiar with each other. However, when he heard treasures, he recalled back to when he followed Qiu Siping to that underground cave. That cave was filled with ancient texts, things a normal person wouldn't have. He slapped his bag of holding, and the mosquito beast flew out. After Wang Lin gave it a command, the mosquito beast put Qiu Siping on its back. However, there was a hint of dissatisfaction in its eyes. It clearly didn't think Qiu Siping was worthy of sitting on its back. Qiu Siping let out a sigh of relief. Although the mosquito beast was slower than a soul formation cultivator, it was able to just barely keep up. He quickly took out a pair of bells from his bag of holding and said, "Brother Wang, I obtained this by accident. It was inside a beast. It should be a treasure from ancient times, but my cultivation level is too low to fully understand it. However, I swear that this treasure is not ordinary. I hope that Brother Wang allows me to cultivate under the reincarnation tree later." With that, he threw the bells toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin caught the bells and found that there was a restriction on the bells. Until he breaks the restriction, he won't be able to get a better look. He didn't have time for this, so he put it away. Just at this moment, two rays of black light came from the distance. They turned into two giant faces. One went toward Old Man Hu, while the other one went toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He waved his right hand, and the celestial sword quickly appeared in his grasp. He swung in the air, and a ray of sword energy quickly slashed down on the face. The swing didn't even make Wang Lin pause. Instead, he started moving even faster. A large amount of black gas gathered in front of the face to form a big tattoo to block against the sword energy. The tattoo collided with the sword energy with a bang. The tattoo shattered, and the sword energy dissipated. A person walked out of the resulting smoke. His hair was white, his eyes were gloomy, and on his right eye there was a fresh wound that was bleeding. He touched his wound, licked his finger, and then chased after Wang Lin. Wang Lin frowned. He was only injured and didn't die. That means he must be a six-leaf savage, which is about as powerful as a late-stage soul formation cultivator. Old Man Hu, who was ahead of him, was in a sorry state. He had to stop and start exchanging moves with the old woman that came out of the face. He had to protect Chu Luo while fighting her, but he was only at the mid-stage of soul formation, so he was constantly being pushed back and was met with many dangers. "Turtle beasts!" After Old Man Hu shouted, the giant turtle suddenly appeared and started fighting the old woman along with Old Man Hu. The moment the old woman saw the turtle beast, her eyes lit up. She gave up on fighting Old Man Hu and charged toward the turtle beast instead. The white-haired old man that was chasing Wang Lin also looked toward the turtle beast with greed in his eyes. He looked at the old woman before ditching Wang Lin and charged toward the turtle beast. In his eyes, compared to chasing after an outsider, it was better to go after that beast's blood to make his tattoos even stronger. As for the mosquito beast, it was ignored by both of them. To them, the mosquito beast had no value. Wang Lin quickly passed Old Man Hu and shouted, "Fellow cultivator Hu, don't hesitate. There won't just be two savages here. If we fight any longer, more will arrive. Let's go." Old Man Hu stared at the turtle beast being attacked by the two savages. His eyes were filled with reluctance. However, that reluctance was suppressed by him as he quickly flew away. He had no choice when he saw three more rays of black light quickly flying toward their location. Old Man Hu said, "West. The reincarnation tree is to the west." The third floor was a lot smaller than the first two floors. After they arrived at the western end, they spread out their divine senses. Old Man Hu's eyes suddenly became focused. It's over there! Wang Lin spread out his divine sense and saw the already wilted tree Old Man Hu was talking about. This tree wasn't very large. It was only as thick as a person's arm. The tree was all by itself, and there were no leaves on it. It looked no different from any other tree. However, it was the only tree in the third floor. Old Man Hu stood under the tree and said, with a heavy voice, I have been here before and have never seen any tree on the third floor. If it wasn't for Xianxia's jade, I really wouldn't have believed that there was a reincarnation tree here. Chu Siping finally arrived as well. When they got close, the mosquito beast threw him to the ground and returned to Wang Lin's side. Chu Siping didn't mind. He teleported next to the tree. He was very excited and was about to sit down to cultivate under the tree when Old Man Hu looked at him and frowned. Chu Siping's heart trembled, and then he quickly looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin slowly said, let him cultivate. Cultivating is a heaven-defying act to begin with, and since he had the fate to arrive here, we shouldn't interfere. Old Man Hu didn't speak, but looked toward Shu Luo and Yun Meng. The two of them quickly went under the tree and sat down on either side of it. Chu Siping looked at Wang Lin with gratitude in his eyes before quickly focusing on cultivating. He knew that time was short. Whether or not he would be able to reach the soul formation stage in the future all depended on the results of today. Old Man Hu said, Brother Wang, Shu Luo and Yun Meng will need 3 hours to make the reincarnation tree bear fruit. We'll have to guard them during that time. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he said, I wonder how many reincarnation fruits will appear. Old Man Hu looked at Wang Lin. He pondered for a bit and said, there should be at least 2. If it is 2, we will each get 1, but if there are 3, then I'll have to take the extra one. After all, it is my treasure refining pavilion's people who are giving up their lives. I hope Brother Wang understands. Wang Lin pointed at the reincarnation tree and said, that is fine, but the branches of the reincarnation tree belong to me. Old Man Hu laughed. Ha! No problem! He secretly sneered. This reincarnation tree was already wilted. It will be useless after being forced to bear fruit, so there was no problem in giving it to Wang Lin. Wang Lin nodded. He took a step forward and grabbed a branch. Old Man Hu's expression changed as he shouted, Fellow cultivator Wang, what are you doing? Wang Lin looked at Old Man Hu and said, Since this branches belong to me, why does it matter if I take some now? Old Man Hu was startled. He was about to speak when Wang Lin broke off a large section. He put away the branch inside his bag of holding and sat down to cultivate. Old Man Hu pondered a bit. Thinking about Wang Lin's fame and that sword, he didn't say anything. Instead, he sat down and smiled. Brother Wang, please don't misunderstand. If you just take a part of it, that is fine, but it might result in fewer reincarnation fruits. Wang Lin looked at Old Man Hu but didn't speak. His hands moved, causing restrictions to appear. The restrictions landed nearby. Wang Lin's hands gradually moved faster, creating more restrictions. Old Man Hu's eyes lit up. After pondering a bit, he took out 16 small flags and scattered them. After they landed, the flags emitted purple lights as if they were calling out to each other. The restrictions kept on coming out of Wang Lin's hand. After 99 restrictions were placed, he took out the restriction flag, which turned into a cloud of black fog. The fog quickly surrounded the area. Mysterious. Old Man Hu's eyes lit up as he slapped his bag of holding. 5 black sickles appeared in front of him. There was a powerful smell of blood coming from the sickles. When the sickles appeared, the countless souls trapped inside them tried to escape. Old Man Hu waved his hand and the 5 black sickles sank into the black fog. Time slowly passed. The third floor was completely quiet. There was a milky white aura going from Shu Luo's and Yun Meng's heads into the reincarnation tree. Their faces changed between white and red. They seemed to be in some pain. As time passed, the milky white aura became even thicker above their heads. But the reincarnation tree didn't change at all. The white aura going into the reincarnation tree didn't seem to have done anything. Even when checking with one's divine sense, one wouldn't find where that white aura was going. Shu Luo's appearance no longer remained young. He slowly aged. Wrinkles appeared on his forehead and his black hair had turned gray. Young Meng was the same. Her cute and young face gradually turned into that of a grown woman's. However, her beauty not decreased. She gained the charm of a mature woman. These past few days without wishing for likes on the video, the like button for the video has quickly fallen to 10th. Urgently wishing for your readers to flip through and see if there's a like button for the video left unpressed. Chapter 34 Training. With the chance all the way up to the TH layer, Wang Lin could continue his cultivation. He returned to his reclusive lifestyle, while heavy tension loomed over the Xianxia sect. All of the inner sect disciples were preparing for the competition. If they could reach the top, then magic treasures, pills, talismans, spirit stones, and more will be rewarded to them. What made their eyes green with envy was that this time, the sect took out one of its big treasures, the 2-moon ring, as the reward for first place. This 2-moon ring belonged to a senior of the sect from 300 years ago. It contained great defensive power. Therefore, all of the inner disciples were secretly preparing their strength. As for the newcomer competition, since there were only a handful of new inner disciples, everyone predicted that the winner of the newcomer competition will be Wang Zhuo. As for the honorary disciples, they became even more hostile toward each other. The competition to become an inner disciple was a chance to turn their lives around. Everyone was secretly preparing for it. This tense atmosphere had nothing to do with Wang Lin at all. In addition to cultivation, he also practiced the attraction technique. The day before the end of the month, he left the chore house and headed straight for the main courtyard. The technique to hide his cultivation level was activated. The spiritual energy in his body quickly disguised itself to the level of the first layer of QI condensation. He found that the people at the chore house were too annoying and kept him from cultivating properly, so he wanted an excuse to go to a quiet place to cultivate. After arriving at the main courtyard, he walked in. A while later, he stepped in front of Sun Daju's herb garden and respectfully said, "Disciple Wang Lin requests to meet Master." "Why you're here?" The herb garden's gate didn't open. It seemed Sun Daju really didn't like this disciple. Wang Lin's expression remained normal. He respectfully said, "Disciple's cultivation is too low, and I am afraid I won't be able to win in the competition and lose Master face. So I would like to refrain from participating." Sun Daju sneered, It seems you are still a bit self-aware, you little brat. Look at Elder Shu's disciple, Wang Zhuo. So young, yet already at the peak of the first layer, and could enter the second layer at any time. Even if you went, it would be useless. The others could kill you with their finger. I even heard you guys are relatives. How could there be such a big difference? Wang Lin didn't care and said, Wang Zhuo has been smart since he was young and he is naturally talented. He's not someone this disciple could compete with. Sun Daju pondered for a while and asked, "Did you find any more gourds in the past half year?" Wang Lin shook his head, revealing a look of helplessness, and said, "This has really been strange. I have been to the mountain multiple times, but haven't seen any gourds." Sun Daju coldly said, "Do you have anything else to say? If not, then scram. Every time I see you, I get angry." Every time he laid eyes on Wang Lin, he couldn't contain his anger. He wished he could just kill Wang Lin with one hand so the others wouldn't laugh at him. Wang Lin bowed and respectfully said, "Master, disciple is really bored from staying up here in the mountains and would like to leave until after the new year. What do you think?" Sun Daju refused and said, "Leave the mountain? You can I almost forgot until you mentioned it, but in 4 years is the competition between the other sects. This time, the head already ordered that after the new year, most of the inner disciples will go into intense closed-door training. You should go so you don't ruin my name in the intersect competition." Intense training? Wang Lin was stunned. Every 20 years there must be a competition between the sects. That has been the rule for hundreds of years. Although Xuan Daozong is friendly with our Xianxia sect on the surface, we secretly have a lot of disagreements. For the past 100 years we have always lost to them, which is very disgraceful. That's why there'll be this intense training. You listen to me well. If after 4 years you haven't made any advancement and make me lose face during the competition, I'll kick you out of the Xianxia sect, no matter what. After saying that, Sun Daju didn't explain anymore. Wang Lin secretly let out a sigh. It seemed that training outside the sect won't be possible. Seeing that Sun Daju's tone wasn't friendly, he nodded and took his leave. After returning to the chore house, Wang Lin pondered a little. Since he couldn't train outside the sect, let's use this intense training to properly cultivate. The next day, the competition began. The scene was very lively. Wang Lin didn't go. He used this time to cultivate and solidify his foundation in the second layer. In the next few days, Wang Lin found out from the gossip of the honorary disciples that among the inner disciples, apprentice brother Zhang got first place, but only because no purple-ranked disciple participated. As for Wang Zhuo, he unsurprisingly became the king of the new disciples. He became even more arrogant, and no longer viewed disciples his age as people on his level. A week later, in the morning, a bell rang throughout the sect. It rang 5 times. That meant that all inner disciples must quickly gather outside the main hall. Wang Lin couldn't hear the bell from inside the dream space. It wasn't until the furious Sun Daju kicked open the chorehouse's door and woke him. He quickly put away the bead and opened up the door to the secret training room, only to see Sun Daju's furious face shouting, "Wang Lin, are you deaf? Did you not hear the bell? You bastard! All of the inner disciples participating in the intense training are there but you. You made me lose face before elder apprentice brother. You make me so mad." Wang Lin raised his brow and remained silent. Sun Daju gave Wang Lin a hard look. He knew that this was not the time to scold his disciple, because the head and apprentice brothers were all waiting. Without a word, he grabbed Wang Lin and stepped onto the 7-colored cloud and flew into the sky. At top speed, they arrived in front of the main hall. Sun Daju mercilessly threw Wang Lin to the ground. Sun Daju said, in a low whisper, "Wang Lin, follow me in. If you make me lose face again, I'll go against the sect rules and kill you." Those last words by Sun Daju were filled with killing intent. He was already at his wit's end with this disciple. He later decided that he must find a reason to kick his disciple out of the sect. Wang Lin rubbed his shoulder. If he hadn't already reached the second layer of QI condensation, then that fall would have broken his arm. He lowered his head and whispered, "Disciple obeys." Sun Daju snorted. He tidied his clothes and walked into the main hall. Wang Lin took a deep breath and suppressed his anger as he walked into the hall as well. The Hengyu sect main hall was the most grand place within the sect. It was a wide hall with dozens of status of sages of the sect. The entire hall was filled with a sense of awe. After Wang Lin followed Sun Daju into the hall, dozens of gazes suddenly gathered on him. He had difficulty breathing and quickly lowered his head. Lately, Leo has been having half headaches, always seeming to see light waves in the form of lines, affecting my vision, sometimes momentarily half blinded, perhaps too exhausted. Chapter half an hour. Time slowly passed. Shu Luo and Yun Meng became even older. Their skin lost their luster, and it looked like their lives were disappearing along with the white aura. 3 yellow dots eventually appeared at the top of the reincarnation tree. The 3 yellow dots became brighter and brighter, like they contained an endless supply of this mysterious power. Old Man Hu's eyes lit up, and he said, 3 reincarnation fruits. Just at this moment, a blinding yellow light appeared from the reincarnation tree. A pillar of yellow light shot into the sky. The yellow light broke through the clouds of the 3rd floor and created a yellow ring that spread out. The longer the pillar of light held up, the wider the ring expanded. The ring of yellow light was about 1,000 feet wide, so everyone on the 3rd floor would notice it. More rings of yellow light appeared. Lines extended from the rings, connecting them to each other until they reached the pillar. This made the pillar look like a giant tree trunk. Then, more lines extended off the rings, forming branches and leaves until there was a large tree that pierced into the sky. A giant reincarnation tree that looked like it was holding up the sky on the 3rd floor suddenly appeared before everyone. This wasn't a real tree, but an illusion. However, the appearance of this illusion caused every savage in the area to stop what they were doing and look at the tree before madly rushing toward it. Wang Lin raised his head. His heart sank. This tree would definitely attract the attention of all the savages here. A big battle was coming. Should he leave now and not wait for the reincarnation fruit, or wait for the reincarnation fruit and fight? Wang Lin pondered for a bit, and then his eyes sparkled. Just at this moment, 8 rays of black light arrived in the horizon and turned into 8 old men. They quickly activated the power of their tattoos and charged toward the people under the tree. The outermost restrictions set by Wang Lin activated, forming a turtle shell-shaped shield that covered 300 feet of the tree. The power of the 8 old men smashed into the shield, causing a huge explosion. Bang! Bang! Under the continuous attacks, the restrictions were destroyed layer by layer. Old Man Hu formed a seal and shot out a few rays of spiritual energy. The energy entered the 16 flags, and then 16 ghost-like things flew out of them. These 16 ghosts gathered together to form a black storm. Power surged through the storm and slammed into the 8 people attacking the formation, knocking them back several meters. Old Man Hu took a deep breath. He closed his eyes and quickly activated the technique in his hand. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and then he pointed at the 8 of them. The remaining restrictions formed a giant hand that reached toward them. One of the 8 was immediately caught. Wang Lin's eyes sparkled, and he whispered, "Explode!" With a bang, the hand shattered along with the person inside into a shower of blood and flesh. Wang Lin pointed with his finger again, and the shattered hand reformed. These savages hadn't reached the 5-leaf stage. They only had 4 leaves, so they were like nascent soul cultivators. Just at this moment, another ray of black light came from the distance. There was a giant face within the black light, and it was covered with tattoos. "Brother Wang, protect them for me while I go outside and fight them." Old Man Hu walked out of the layers of restrictions and began to fight with the savages. Half an hour later, Old Man Hu came back in with his face gloomy and 2 wounds on his body. He was a mess. After he came back in, he sat down and said, "I killed them, but 2 more came. I can beat them." Wang Lin stood up and walked out. Just as he walked out of the restriction, he saw 2 old men holding a chain made of their tattoos. They were attacking the black storm created by the 16 flags. Every time the chain hit the storm, there was a series of crackling sounds. The moment Wang Lin appeared, one of the old men's eyes lit up. The tattoo chain he was holding shook and came toward Wang Lin like a long snake. A sonic boom came along with the tattoo chain. Wang Lin could also feel the soul of a dragon roaring inside the chain. Wang Lin remained calm and reached out. The surrounding black fog gathered to form a lance. Wang Lin grabbed the lance and jabbed it toward the tattoo chain. Bang! The lance collapsed and cracks appeared on the chain before it shattered into individual tattoos. The savage old man's eyes became serious. He let out a roar and took out a red beast skin. The beast skin caught on fire and turned into a large iron pan. The moment the iron pan appeared, the shattered tattoo quickly gathered in the iron pan. Wang Lin raised his right hand and another lance appeared in his hand. Then he charged out like lightning. There was dread in the old man's eyes as he stood on top of the iron pan. He chanted a complicated spell, and then the iron pan suddenly grew to the size of a small mountain. The old man flew up with the iron pan and dodged Wang Lin's lance. Then the iron pan smashed down from the sky. Before Wang Lin could move away, countless cracks appeared under his feet. His body was being suppressed by an invisible force, causing him to slow down. At the same time, the other savage turned toward Wang Lin and let out a cruel smile. He waved his arm and the tattoos flew off his hand, stacked together, and flew toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes were still calm. He opened his arms and said, "Restriction wall appear." Countless lances made out of restriction gas shot out from the fog toward the tattoos the savage had thrown out. At the same time, Wang Lin touched his bag of holding to take out the celestial sword. With both of his hands, he swung the sword toward the sky. A ray of sword energy shot out and collided with the iron pan. The iron pan trembled and countless cracks appeared on it. The old man standing on it coughed out blood. His eyes were filled with shock. However, he let out a ferocious roar right after. Then, 5 leaves appeared on his head and quickly covered his whole body. The leaf went down his feet and into the iron pan, sealing up the cracks. The iron pan regained its shine and smashed down again. He was only 200 feet from Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. Without hesitation, he threw the celestial sword into the air. The celestial sword charged through the iron pan like it was cutting through paper. The old man was shocked as he was split in half. Blood splattered everywhere. The restriction on Wang Lin disappeared. He opened his mouth and a stamp flew out of it, smashing toward the other savage as he was fighting against the countless lances. That savage's expression changed, and suddenly a beast's skin appeared in his hand. The beast's skin formed a giant hand that smashed into the stamp. Wang Lin snorted. He moved forward, touched his bag of holding, and a bell appeared in his hand. He threw the golden bell at the savage. The savage was already going crazy as he was dealing with the lance and the stamp. Just as he was about to take out another beast's skin, he was swallowed by the bell. Wang Lin waved his right hand and the bell returned to him. He then quickly sealed the bell. As he put it away, he could still hear ringing from the bell. Wang Lin retrieved the celestial sword and black stamp before going back into the restriction. After he was back inside, the surroundings became quiet, leaving behind only the bloody remains of the battle. Inside the restriction, Old Man Hu sat under the reincarnation tree with dread in his eyes toward Wang Lin. After witnessing that battle, his dread toward Wang Lin became even stronger. How much more time? Wang Lin looked at the reincarnation tree. The 3 dots were now fist-sized. Old Man Hu confidently said, "Soon, just half an hour more, and the fruits will be ready." Wang Lin said, "That is too long. Those were only 5-leaf shamans, not 6-leaf shamans, who are equivalent to soul formation cultivators. I can hold one of them back, but if 2 come, I won't be able to do much. There are also 7-leaf shamans here. They are the same as soul transformation cultivators." Old Man Hu's expression became gloomy. Just as he was about to speak, his expression changed greatly. Wang Lin let out a sigh and looked over. In the distance, 20 rays of black light were heading their way. 6 of those black lights contained giant faces. The 2 in the front were especially big. The black lights they gave off were like raging demonic flames. 6-leaf tattoos would constantly appear and disappear on their foreheads. After they arrived at the restriction, they all took human shape. The 2 6-leaf shamans at the front were the same 2 that chased Wang Lin and Old Man Hu, but were lured away by the turtle beast. There were a few more tattoos on the old woman as well as traces of red on her body. The absorption process had clearly just finished. She let out a smile as her withered hand reached forward. The already weakened dark storm shattered. The 16 ghosts dissipated and the 16 flags shattered. These past few days I've always been prodding myself to wish for likes on the VIDEO. But I always forget, now there are only the last 12 hours left to double the likes for the VIDEO. Tears in the hope of likes. Brothers, don't hold back. Chapter 350 Power of the God-Slaying Chariot. After the black storm dissipated, there was a curtain of black fog. The old woman moved forward and was just about to enter the black fog when her expression suddenly changed, and she twisted her body backward at an impossible angle. A stickles flashed by her and disappeared back into the black fog. A wound appeared on the old woman's withered body. She let out a roar, then tattoos suddenly appeared around her body and began to spin. After chanting a few curses, the tattoos around her turned into balls of fire which shot out of the black fog. A large number of lances flew out of the black fog and collided with the balls of fire, creating heaven-shaking explosions. At the same time, 5 sickles flew out toward the old woman. A ray of purple light suddenly arrived next to the old woman. When the purple light faded, it revealed a middle-aged man. This person's body was very large. He caught one of the sickles in his hand and squeezed it. The sickle was destroyed. Then he grabbed another sickle and crushed it. The 3 remaining sickles quickly flew back into the black fog and disappeared. That large man was mostly covered in tattoos. However, his tattoos were slightly different from the others. Instead of floating above the skin, his tattoos were engraved into his skin. After this person appeared, the old woman snorted but didn't say anything. This burly man looked at the fog. He made a fist with his right hand and suddenly released a punch. The tattoos on his body moved in a mysterious way, and the muscles in his body condensed into his right arm. The black fog was pushed apart, and the remaining 3 sickles that were hiding inside it shattered. Old Man Hu's face was sullen as he looked toward Shu Luo and Yun Meng under the reincarnation tree. When his gaze fell on Shu Luo, Old Man Hu clenched his teeth and sent out a ray of spiritual energy that entered Shu Luo's body. Shu Luo let out a painful scream, coughed out a mouthful of blood, and fell to the ground. However, just before he fell, a large amount of milky white aura came out of his body and was absorbed by the reincarnation tree. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he looked at Old Man Hu. This Old Man Hu was really vicious. He didn't mind sacrificing his own sect disciple to increase the growth rate of the reincarnation fruit. However, this was an internal matter of Old Man Hu's sect. He had no right to interfere, and neither did he want to. After Shu Luo's body hit the ground, the 3 yellow dots on the reincarnation tree glowed brightly and slowly took shape. Old Man Hu knew that it wasn't enough and let out a sigh. He pointed at Yun Meng, causing her to cough out blood. She looked at Old Man Hu with sadness in her eyes before slowly closing them. A large amount of milky white aura suddenly came out of her head and entered the reincarnation tree. In an instant, 3 reincarnation fruits formed. Wang Lin and Old Man Hu rushed toward the reincarnation tree at the exact same time. With how close they were, they both arrived under the tree at the same time. Wang Lin quickly grabbed one fruit. As for Old Man Hu, he grabbed a fruit with each hand and quickly backed up. His look toward Wang Lin was filled with caution. Without any hesitation, Wang Lin hit the reincarnation tree with his hand. The tree broke off at its base. Then Wang Lin grabbed it and held it over his shoulder. He then waved his hand and the restriction flag came back to him. He quickly escaped afterward. Old Man Hu was the same, but the directions the two of them chose were opposite. As for Qiyu Siping, he had opened his eyes. He clenched his teeth and followed after Wang Lin. All of this occurred at the moment the black fog disappeared. At almost that exact moment, the three people charged out. The savages quickly went to stop them. The burly man's gaze locked onto Wang Lin. He quickly moved and blocked Wang Lin's path. As for the old woman, her gaze was locked onto Old Man Hu as she quickly chased after him. The other 6 leaf shamans had their gazes on Qiyu Siping. Qiyu Siping felt like he was being locked onto by a vicious beast. Soon, a mysterious power covered his body, making it so he couldn't move at all. He saw the 6 leaf shamans grinning at him, and then his vision went black as he lost consciousness. On his forehead, a mysterious and constantly growing tattoo appeared. Facing the burly man that was blocking him, Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. He quickly took out the celestial sword and swung down. The burly man let out a laugh and met the sword with his hand. Bang! The burly man's hand was split open to the point where his bones were revealed. There were even tattoos on his bones. He was sent flying, but his eyes were filled with the urge to battle, so he quickly recovered and charged at Wang Lin again. Wang Lin could feel a shock wave coming from the celestial sword. He borrowed that force to move backward and was about to escape. He almost immediately guessed that this person was not a shaman but a warrior that hadn't appeared before. A shaman wouldn't be able to receive a blow from the celestial sword with just their fist. The moment Wang Lin backed up, he saw the tattoo on Qiyu Siping's forehead. His expression sank. He reached out and grabbed Qiyu Siping's bag of holding. Then he escaped without taking a single look back. The burly man let out a roar and chased after Wang Lin. At this moment, a few of the remaining shamans came to stop Wang Lin. Killing intent flashed across Wang Lin's eyes and he shouted, "Scram!" He swung the celestial sword horizontally and cut 2 of the savages in half. The other savages paused when they saw this, and Wang Lin used this pause to break through them. The burly man's expression was gloomy as he quickly chased after Wang Lin. The 2 of them were both very fast. In the blink of an eye, both of them disappeared over the horizon. As for the 6-leaf shaman who had just finished refining Qiyu Siping, he withdrew his gaze from where Wang Lin went and turned toward Old Man Hu, who was currently fighting the old woman. He licked his lips as he stared at Old Man Hu's bag of holding. The bag was emitting a yellow light. This light was something not even a bag of holding could hide. Wang Lin carried the reincarnation tree on his shoulder. This tree was very strange. No matter what he did, he couldn't put it inside his bag of holding. The reincarnation fruit was inside his bag of holding, but he couldn't hide the eye-catching yellow light. The burly man behind him quickly chased after Wang Lin. He looked at Wang Lin's back, and the urge to battle filled his eyes. He said to Wang Lin, in a language that Wang Lin could understand, "Outsider, you won't be able to get away. How about you battle with me?" Wang Lin's eyes were filled with killing intent as he touched the bracelet on his wrist. He swung the celestial sword at the burly man and said, "Fine, I'll have a battle with you." The burly man laughed. He didn't dodge, but instead placed both of his hands in front of his chest. He blocked the sword with his arms, causing a loud bang upon impact. His flesh was cut open, but the bones in his arms weren't damaged. The will to battle in his eyes increased and he shouted, "Chimu! 6-leaf warrior!" Wang Lin's eyes became cold and he said, "Wang Lin, soul formation cultivator!" Chimu stepped forward, released a punch, and a sonic boom shot out toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin swung the celestial sword, and an explosion occurred 30 feet in front of him. Wang Lin immediately felt his hand go numb. If my original body was here, I could definitely fight with this person. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He waved his right hand and the beast trap flew out. With a bang, the god-slaying war chariot appeared before Wang Lin. The beast chained to the chariot coldly looked at Chimu and let out a heaven-shaking roar. Chimu was startled and his expression paled. God-slaying war chariot, let me see if you are worthy of your name. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. If he didn't kill this person now, he wouldn't be able to escape. The beast on the war chariot suddenly turned toward Wang Lin. After glaring at Wang Lin, the beast let out another roar. The spikes on the war chariot emitted a black light that slowly gathered on the beast's spirit. Chimu felt a sense of danger he had never felt before. He didn't wait for the war chariot to completely activate. He immediately charged forth and swung down his fist. Wang Lin sneered. He moved and swung down the celestial sword. Another explosion occurred 30 feet away, knocking Chimu's hand up. He forced himself to stop before charging toward the chariot again. Wang Lin swung down the celestial sword again. This time, he didn't stop after one swing and kept on swinging. He swung the celestial sword 10 times. Bang, bang, bang! Chimu's body was knocked back and his chest had wounds deep enough to reveal the bones underneath. Some cracks even began to appear on the bones near his chest, but they quickly healed as the tattoos flashed. Shu Liguo's cry came out from inside the celestial sword. Shu Liguo and the wandering souls couldn't fully control the celestial sword. If it was used too much, they would disappear. After Wang Lin heard Shu Liguo's cry, he stopped using the celestial sword. At this moment, the beast spirit had finished absorbing the black light from the spikes. Its body had grown larger as a result. The chain suppressing the beast suddenly disappeared, and a heaven-destroying power came out from the chariot and entered the beast spirit. The beast spirit let out a roar and left the war chariot. It moved so fast that even Wang Lin wasn't able to see it clearly. It arrived before Chimu. Chimu was terrified and wanted to escape, but the difference in speed was too large. This beast spirit's body was filled with destructive force as it charged through Chimu. Wang Lin saw that after the beast had charged through Chimu, there was a soul inside its large mouth. The soul looked like Chimu. Cracks appeared on Chimu's forehead and slowly extended to his whole body. Then his entire body turned to dust and disappeared. 5,000 words in a major chapter. Seizing the moment when brothers and sisters feel comfortable, Lio wishes for the like button for the video, for sharing, for channel follows without hesitation. Om. COMPLETED 7 killers. Child of Light. Coiling Dragon. Dragon King with 7 stars. HEROESSHED. No. TEARS. Horizon. Bright Moon. SABRE. STELLARTRANSFORMATIONS. ICTIVEABSOLUTECHOICE. A GAINSTTHEGODS. A will eternal. Battle through the heavens. Desolate era. Emperor's domination. Gate of revelation. Heavenly jewel change. ISHALLSEALTHEHEAVENS. Legend of the Dragon King. Martial God Asura. PERFEC. TWRLD. Rebirth of. THETHIFRENEGADEIMMORTAL. Skyfire Avenue. OVEREIGN of THETHREEREALMS. SPIRITREALM. TALES of DEMONS and GODS. TERRORINFINITY. The Great. Ruler. Upgrade Specialist and another WORLD. WARLOCK of THEMAGUS WORLD. Do Dong Qian Kun. About us contact us terms of Service Resources General Fact Basic Dao Primer Deathblade S. Learning Chinese Fact General Glossary of Term Chinese Idiom. Glossary Wuxia. Xianxia. TERMS of ADDRESS. Cores in CHINESECULTIVATIONNOVELST. JSSBIOGRAPHYTRANSLATORTHOUGHTSSERIESDONATIONSFORUMSWIKI. Enable night mode, disable night mode. Advertisement. Renegade Chapter 351. Chapter Escape. The beast's spirit swallowed the soul and turned toward Wang Lin. Although the beast was being controlled by the beast trap, it was still very hostile. How could it be willing to be controlled by Wang Lin? Wang Lin remained very calm as the beast jumped toward him. He made a seal and sent it toward the war chariot. Chains immediately shot out from the war chariot and locked up the beast's spirit. The spirit beast began to struggle, unwilling to give up. However, the chains seemed to be filled with immense power. They slowly dragged the beast's spirit back into the war chariot. The beast's spirit continued to struggle in vain as it was dragged back toward the war chariot. When it was next to the war chariot, its body began to shrink until it disappeared into the war chariot. The war chariot turned back into the beast trap with a bang and flew toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He took out a top-quality spirit stone with one hand and held out his other hand to receive the beast trap. The moment it landed on his wrist, it started to suck away his spiritual energy. With the top-quality spirit stone in hand, Wang Lin quickly flew away. His speed wasn't too fast. As he flew, he turned the suction force from the beast trap toward the top-quality spirit stone. This process lasted for a very long time before the suction slowly weakened. Wang Lin wiped the sweat off his forehead. When he relaxed his hand, the top-quality spirit stone turned to dust in his palm. The power of the god-slaying war chariot was beyond my imagination. It is really worthy of being called a celestial treasure. However, the beast's spirit is too vicious. While the beast trap can control it for a short while, it might drain me completely someday. In addition, every time I use it, I will have to use a top-quality spirit stone to replenish the spiritual energy that I lost. The cost is simply too high. The sweat on Wang Lin's forehead disappeared when wind blew on his face. He began to silently ponder. His speed was very quick. He knew that the third floor was very dangerous and that he had to leave quickly. Also, the words from the savage on the second floor still echoed in his ears. A 7-leaf shaman, which was the same as a soul transformation cultivator, was something the current Wang Lin couldn't do anything against. I wonder if the god-slaying war chariot can kill a soul transformation cultivator. The difference between a soul formation cultivator and a soul transformation cultivator is something numbers can explain. It is a difference in quality. All of the spiritual energy inside a soul transformation cultivator has turned into celestial spiritual energy. Wang Lin frowned. However, this is a bit strange. Why did no 7-leaf shamans appear when the commotion under the reincarnation tree occurred? Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he flew even faster. He was very eye-catching while flying in the third floor with the reincarnation tree on his shoulder. He moved his hand over the tree and cut it into several pieces. The tree branch from before could be put into the bag, but the whole tree won't go in. I'll cut it into pieces and see if that works. Wang Lin cut off a piece and tried. Without any delay, a small piece of the reincarnation tree disappeared into the bag of holding. It worked. Wang Lin increased his speed and quickly placed the pieces of the tree into his bag of holding. This reincarnation tree is indeed mysterious. It can be put into the bag of holding as a whole, but in pieces it can. Wang Lin looked at the bag of holding and quickly flew toward the exit of the third floor. Time slowly passed. Wang Lin could see the exit. He used a teleport and arrived at the tunnel, but just at this moment a cough came from the distance. An old man who had tattoos covering 80% of his body slowly walked over with a hunched back. Wang Lin didn't hesitate. He charged into the tunnel and went into the second floor. The white-haired old man was wearing a bracelet made of beast bones. He touched the bracelet with his hand and walked toward Wang Lin's direction. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared and reappeared on the second floor. What is this? After the old man reappeared, he was immediately shocked. When he disappeared, he could clearly feel the outsider's location, but when he reappeared, the outsider's presence had completely vanished. The old man straightened his back and pointed at his brow. A 7-leaf plant slowly appeared on his forehead, and every corner of the second floor quickly appeared in the old man's mind. At the same time, a technique like a cultivator's divine sense swept across the second floor, but he found no trace of Wang Lin. As a result, the old man revealed a shocked expression. This outsider junior has some skill to be able to escape from my eyes. The old man pondered a bit and then disappeared. Half a month passed by in the blink of an eye. Within that half-month of time, no one had left the immortal graveyard. Old Man Hu risked damaging his origin soul and used his life-saving technique to get away. However, halfway through his escape, he was caught by the hunchbacked old man. There were no more news of Old Man Hu ever since. As for Shuluo S and Yun Meng's corpses, they were also taken by the Forsaken Immortal clan for other uses. Q Siping wasn't able to resist the refining of a six-leaf shaman. After all, a six-leaf shaman was like a soul formation cultivator. As a result, he became a puppet. Aside from the white-veiled woman and her servant, whose locations were unknown, Wang Lin was the only person from their group who still remained. On this day, at the entryway to the third floor from the second floor, a rainbow-colored light appeared and soon, a person appeared within the light. At almost the same instant Wang Lin appeared, he disappeared. Half a month ago, when he noticed the hunchback old man when he arrived at the second floor, he entered the heaven-defying bead without any hesitation. It had been a long time since he had to hide within the heaven-defying bead. Before a seven-leaf shaman, who was like a soul transformation cultivator, Wang Lin knew he stood no chance at all. Once he had been locked onto, the only road left for him would be death. After he appeared, his speed reached its limit. He didn't care about anything other than leaving, so he used spiritual energy to fly as fast as possible. If it wasn't for the fact that the star compass could only fly in the void, he would have already used it. He kept teleporting while holding a top-quality spirit stone in his hand. When he was about to enter the tunnel to the first floor, a golden tattoo appeared and sealed the tunnel. Outsider Junior, this old man has waited for you for a long time. With a cough, the old man with the hunched back appeared within the tattoo and casually looked at Wang Lin. With just one gaze, Wang Lin felt like he had been completely seen through. A cold feeling covered his body. Wang Lin didn't dare to back up. He could feel that if he took one step back, the old man would kill him. He coldly stared at the old man with his left hand touching the beast trap. The old man coughed and slowly said, "You killed Momo, Diaya, Kagu, and Chimu. I can see a resentful spirit on your body. To kill these juniors of my clan with your mere almost mid-stage soul formation cultivation, especially a six-leaf warrior like Chimu. You must be well known in the cultivation world. What is your name?" Wang Lin calmly said, "Wang Lin," his left hand firmly pressed against the beast trap. The war chariot had a fatal flaw. It took too long to activate. Wang Lin wasn't confident he could stall the old man enough to open it. The treasure that killed Chimu should be that bracelet of yours. The old man looked at the beast trap and said, "There is the scent of a beast spirit inside there." Wang Lin's face was gloomy. He stared at the old man and tried to slowly move backwards. The old man's eyes turned to Wang Lin again. Wang Lin paused and didn't continue to back up. The old man coughed. "I won't be too difficult on you. Tell me the method you used to hide your presence and I'll keep your body whole and plant a tattoo in you myself. From then on, you will be my tattoo puppet. Someone of your cultivation level won't be able to run away." The old man reached out and Wang Lin immediately felt the space around him beginning to close in. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. His right hand touched the bag of holding and the restriction flag appeared. It released many dragons made of restriction gas that charged toward the old man. At the same time, the celestial sword appeared in Wang Lin's hand, and he slashed at the old man. The old man raised his eyebrow and pointed forward. The tattoos on his body moved in a strange manner. Soon a tattoo appeared at the tip of his finger and was sent flying with a flick. The moment the tattoo appeared, it split into smaller tattoos and flew toward the dragons. As for the sword energy, the old man made another tattoo that collided with the sword energy. Bang! The sword energy left a red mark on the old man's finger. He looked at it and said, "Not bad. That sword should also be a valuable treasure." Wang Lin felt his scalp go numb. The restriction flag was useless. The celestial sword was useless, and even the god-slaying war chariot was useless against the old man. His eyes became even colder as he took out another restriction flag from his bag. He created a restriction in his hand and stared at the old man. The old man stared at the restriction flag and shook his head. "You sure do have a lot of treasures. I'm sure you must be the direct disciple of some big sect up there. There is the presence of the heavens pressure on that item. I believe that once you place that last restriction on there, it will summon what you cultivators call divine retribution. If we were on the surface, it might hurt me, but this is the immortal graveyard. a different world. Divine retribution can reach us here. You are free to try it. With that, the old man reached out again. He didn't move very fast this time, but he used more power than before. Crackling sounds could be heard all around Wang Lin, and even spatial rifts appeared. It was like this area was about to collapse. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. After he put away the restriction flag, one more object appeared in his hand. This object was a scroll. The moment the ordinary-looking scroll appeared in Wang Lin's hand, the old man, whose expression hadn't changed at all, suddenly became serious, and his hand unconsciously paused. Waking up early today, not updating on time even earlier. Leo went to deal with household chores, unsure what time I'll be back this afternoon. The new chapter tonight might be late. Chapter Tattoo Puppet. With this pause, Wang Lin felt the power around him loosen. Wang Lin didn't hesitate and immediately teleported away. The old man's eyes revealed a mysterious light, and then he chased after Wang Lin. Wang Lin secretly sighed. Although he had refined the scroll for a very long time, he still didn't know how to use it. Earlier, he really didn't have any other way to deal with the old man, which led him to take out the scroll to use, tear open, or throw away. However, that old man paused when he saw the scroll, which caused Wang Lin to change his plan. He used that pause to quickly escape. The tunnel to the first floor is blocked, so there is only one other path left. Although it is also very dangerous, it is better than waiting here to die. Wang Lin swung the celestial sword at the air. A spatial rift suddenly appeared where the celestial sword swung past. It was pitch black inside, like a man-eating mouth. The moment the spatial rift appeared, it began to shrink. Wang Lin quickly entered the rift. The moment he entered the rift, the old man arrived. The old man snorted and stepped into the rift to continue chasing Wang Lin. The moment Wang Lin entered the rift, a powerful wind hit his body. There were countless small organisms within the wind, and when they hit his body, he felt pain all over. Even his origin soul flickered like a fire in the wind. Even though he knew the dangers of the spatial rifts, Wang Lin was shocked in his heart. However, the real danger was getting lost inside the void, unable to find the exit. Inside this void there was a cold wind that could extinguish an origin soul. This place was completely dark. He was unable to see anything clearly. The cold wind became stronger and stronger. Wang Lin quickly slapped his bag of holding and the star compass appeared. He sat down on the star compass and quickly flew away while using his spiritual energy to drive out the cold air that had entered his body. This was the reason why he entered the spatial rift. Only in the void could he use the star compass. This was his only method to move faster than the old man and escape his pursuit. The old man entered the rift. He waved his hand and a tattoo appeared on the rift to stop it from closing. The old man muttered to himself, "That scroll is very similar to my clan's holy treasure on the th floor. That cold wind had no effect on him. When it hit his body, not only did he not feel any discomfort, it felt nice." The old man pondered a bit and continued to chase Wang Lin. Wang Lin was sitting on top of the compass and was completely focused on controlling it. He moved very fast and encountered nothing living at all in his path. It was like this place was just an endless, black void. This was clearly different from the void he was used to. The sense of danger from behind him was still there. The old man was clearly still chasing him. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy as he controlled the star compass to move at its limit. The old man walked through the void with his hand behind his back. He would cross a very large distance every step he took, but he still couldn't catch up to Wang Lin. He was very shocked and thought that this junior really had a lot of valuable treasures that were useful in different situations. He believed that Wang Lin was an important junior on the surface. His urge to make Wang Lin his tattoo puppet became even stronger. This void was very strange. The more Wang Lin flew, the stronger this feeling got. In the past few days of flying, he had not seen anything. There wasn't even a small amount of spiritual energy here. He couldn't just continue like this. His eyes suddenly became cold and he threw out the beast trap. The war chariot appeared on the star compass. Wang Lin took a deep breath. He created a seal and sent it to the war chariot. The beast spirit suddenly appeared next to the war chariot. Because Wang Lin was very close, the beast spirit immediately tried to devour him. But Wang Lin was already prepared. He softly whispered something and the chains from the war chariot dragged the beast spirit back. The beast spirit continued to roar while viciously glaring at Wang Lin. Wang Lin raised his head to look at the beast spirit and made another seal. Soon, the spikes on the war chariot began to emit a black light. Wang Lin turned around and focused on controlling the star compass. He knew that the war chariot needed time to activate. Based on his previous experience, it would take about the same amount of time as a stick of incense would take to burn. Soon, the time passed and the beast's spirit finished absorbing the black light from the spikes. The beast grew larger. During this time, the beast tried to devour Wang Lin many times, but was held back by the chain. Finally, after the war chariot completely activated, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and the star compass stopped. The old man noticed that Wang Lin had stopped moving and immediately sped up. At the same time, a powerful soul force spread out. When Wang Lin noticed the old man enter the range of his divine sense, he sent out a seal to the war chariot. The chains on the beast spirit suddenly disappeared, but the chain between it and Wang Lin still existed. This beast spirit viciously looked at old man with a hunchback. The beast wanted to devour everything. Only after doing so could it vent its anger. The old man's expression immediately changed and he stopped. He quickly touched the tattoos on his body and then they all suddenly flew off and hovered 3 inches above his skin. At this moment, the beast spirit arrived. It jumped at the old man and let out a roar, but it was stopped 3 inches away from the old man. What stopped it was various tattoos that were shining wildly. But the god-slaying war chariot was very powerful, so the old man was pushed back 1,000 feet. The old man's eyes became bloodshot as he let out a roar. The tattoos moved from 3 inches away from his body to 5 inches. The beast's spirit roared while it was slowly pushed back. The old man's eyes became even more bloodshot as he was about to push the beast's spirit away. However, Wang Lin sneered. He took out the celestial sword and swung down on the old man. While he is still, I's life. Wang Lin was very used to doing these kind of things. As the sword swung down, a ray of black light was shot out. The sword energy suddenly appeared before the old man and landed on his body. The old man let out a roar and the tattoos around him suddenly stopped before moving closer to his body again. He looked toward Wang Lin and a 7-leaf plant immediately appeared on his forehead. The moment the plant appeared, the tattoos on his body moved like crazy. Killing intent filled the old man as he raised his hand and pointed at Wang Lin. Wang Lin immediately felt the cold energy enter his body and quickly enter his origin soul. The cold energy turned into a seed and quickly began to sprout. Wang Lin's face was pale as he coughed out blood. He let out a roar and swung down the celestial sword in his hand once more. Then he immediately changed directions and swung down again. Rays of sword energy smashed into the old man, causing the tattoos to be pushed back closer to his body. This made the beast spirit push even more viciously so that it could devour the old man that was blocking it. Seeing that the beast spirit was about to devour him, the old man's eyes emitted a mysterious light. The bracelet made of beast bones suddenly came off his wrist. The bracelet suddenly released waves of ghostly light and a tattoo appeared. This tattoo was broken and incomplete. There are even parts clearly missing. However, this tattoo made Wang Lin's skin crawl. The moment the tattoo appeared, the surrounding void was suddenly bathed in a green light. The old man slowly said, "This is my enlightenment tattoo. It is by studying this tattoo that I was able to reach the 7-leaf stage. Now that Junior has seen this tattoo, you can die in peace." The tattoo shined once, causing the beast spirit to release green gas from all over its body. The beast spirit let out a roar and looked toward the tattoo with reluctance in its eyes. If it was at its prime, it would dare to fight against that tattoo, but now it had to retreat. The beast shook its body and broke free from the green light before disappearing into the void. Wang Lin immediately noticed that the moment that tattoo appeared, the sprouting seed in his origin soul suddenly began to grow at an alarming rate. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to return to the star compass and quickly flew away. The beast spirit reappeared next to the war chariot. This time, it didn't try to devour Wang Lin, but weakly disappeared back into the war chariot. The old man looked at where Wang Lin had disappeared to. He didn't chase after Wang Lin, but looked down at his chest. On his chest, there were 3 wounds deep enough to reveal his bones. Those 3 wounds were made by Wang Lin's celestial sword. The killing intent in his eyes intensified. He took a deep breath, bowed to the tattoos, and the tattoos gradually shrunk and returned to his body. The bone bracelet silently reappeared on his wrist. The old man stood up and continued to chase after Wang Lin. On the star compass, Wang Lin had his eyes closed. On his head was a plant slowly extending its roots. It had moved past his face, onto to his neck, and it still continued to spread. Waves of roars came out of Wang Lin's eyes. He suddenly opened his eyes, which had a hint of madness, but then quickly closed them and revealed a struggling expression. He was facing extreme pain, but even so, he was able to keep a part of his mind calm enough to control the star compass to continue his escape. Finally, the weekend is here, and Leo can finally sleep to his heart's content, not needing to get up early to take the daughter to school. Been burning the midnight oil these past few days, utterly exhausted. Chapter 353 Wood Element. The plant on Wang Lin's forehead quickly grew and covered his body. There were even black lines on the back of his hand. These black lines formed various tattoos. These tattoos seemed to have taken root inside Wang Lin's flesh and were slowly spreading. The pain Wang Lin showed on his face increased. He suddenly opened his eyes and formed a seal. After a long time, although his eyes were still glowing red, there was a hint of clarity. However, an image of a tattoo would mysteriously appear and disappear in his eyes. This tattoo is simply too vicious. Wang Lin was very gloomy as he looked at the black lines on the back of his hand. The tattoo had already covered his entire origin soul like a net, trapping it. The tattoo that appeared on his skin was merely a reflection of what was happening to his origin soul. This tattoo seems to have life. I can only temporarily suppress it. Wang Lin pondered and managed his body to make his spiritual energy stable. He then touched the war chariot. It turned back into a bracelet and landed on his wrist. After using up a top-quality spirit stone to counteract the suction from the bracelet, he coldly looked at the void behind him. He could feel that the old man was still chasing him and was getting closer and closer. If it wasn't for the star compass speed being beyond the old man's imagination, he would have already been caught. Wang Lin cursed, "Damn old ghost, give up." Wang Lin had been running for over a month now. He felt the same as he did back when he was being chased like a fugitive during his Foundation establishment days. If it wasn't for the fact that he had various things that could recover his spiritual energy, he would have already been exhausted and caught by the old man. However, no matter how many pills he had, they would all be used up eventually. When he runs out of things to recover his spiritual energy to operate the star compass, then the only outcome for him will be death. Run, he could only run. All of his treasure were useless against the old man other the scroll, which he didn't know how to use. Since the old man couldn't catch up, this had turned into a war of attrition to see who could last longer. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he controlled the star compass to continue flying. After deciding to go into a war of attrition, Wang Lin started to be very careful with every single pill he took. He didn't want to waste any of the spiritual energy within the pills. The old man continued to chase. The more he chased, the more shocked he became that the junior before him could keep flying at this speed for this long. Although Wang Lin was using some kind of treasure, a treasure would still use up spiritual energy. A junior that was able to control a treasure for this long while having the tattoo seed in him was very rare. This person must be a disciple of some big sect up there, maybe even a disciple of Suzaku. I must refine him into my tattoo puppet, then when I send him back up, it will have great effect. The Forsaken Immortal clan couldn't go beyond the first floor due to a seal by Suzaku. The only ones that could leave were tattoo puppets. The one Wang Lin met outside before was a tattoo puppet, only it was a low-ranked one. This was why the Forsaken Immortal clan took the bodies of dead cultivators. Otherwise, the Sea of Devils and all surrounding countries would have been wiped out by the Forsaken Immortal clan. The Forsaken Immortal clan members would also not have to fight each other for beasts. The old man's eyes released a mysterious light as he continued to chase. The old man snorted. This junior must have a lot of pills, but no matter how many he has, he will run out. When he runs out, I'll refine him into a puppet. This void was extremely large. Wang Lin had flown in a straight line for over a month now and still hadn't seen the end. Right now, everything looked exactly the same as where he entered. It was completely dark without any living or non-living things. On this day, Wang Lin was still steering the star compass to escape when the plant on his forehead suddenly started shining, and all of the tattoos on his body began to move. Another attack! Wang Lin quickly began to multitask. One part of his mind was set to continue controlling the compass, and the other to suppress the power of the tattoo. After a long time, he opened his eyes. The tattoo in his eyes was even more clear than before, and his hands were covered in tattoos. If a cultivator were to see Wang Lin right now, They would think he was a member of the Forsaken Immortal clan. Wang Lin's face was gloomy as he let out a breath. He could feel that the tattoo had dug into his origin soul and began to spread. Once the entire origin soul is covered by the tattoo, he will become what the old man called a tattoo puppet. After he entered the immortal graveyard, he saw a few tattoo puppets. Their eyes were all red, and they gave off an oppressive aura. They didn't look like humans or ghosts. Wang Lin felt very bitter. He knew that if this chase continued, his origin soul would be completely covered by the tattoo before he uses up all his pills. He touched his bag of holding. In his bag there was a bag of holding that the head elder of the corpse sect had given him. However, he didn't even know where he was right now, so how could he call the head elder here? He pondered for a while and his eyes became cold. In his 500 years of cultivation, Wang Lin had been through many life and death situations. These experiences made him very determined to survive. The more dangerous it was, the more calm he became. What is most important right now is removing the tattoo. Wang Lin calmed himself down and began to study the tattoo. Wang Lin pondered. This tattoo came from the plant between my eyebrows. All of the savages have a plant between their brows as well. Since it is a plant, then no matter what kind of power the tattoo has, it must be wood element. He encountered danger like this back when he was still at the foundation establishment stage. This was when he met the desolate beast fire spirit back in Haofen. That fire spirit was devouring cultivators to help itself grow. At the last moment, the heaven-defying bead appeared to absorb the fire spirit and completed the fire element requirement. Thinking about this, Wang Lin decided to give it a try. He took a deep breath, pointed at his brow, and said, "Heaven-defying." A gray orb suddenly flew out from his forehead. There was an image of a few leaves on the bead, but other than that, nothing about this bead seemed abnormal. After seeing the leaves on the heaven-defying bead, Wang Lin let out a roar. The spiritual energy within his body surged to make the star compass go even faster. Wang Lin immediately withdrew his spiritual energy. He knew that time was of the essence, and that the star compass would be able to glide for a while without his spiritual energy. Although this time would be very short, it was Wang Lin's only option. After withdrawing his spiritual energy, Wang Lin focused on his origin soul and forced the tattoo toward his brow. Soon the demonic plant appeared between his eyebrows. Its small leaves were slowly growing. The old man immediately noticed that Wang Lin had slowed down. He snorted and chased after him. The black lines moved mysteriously on Wang Lin's body. Sometimes they would retract toward his brow, and sometimes they would extend out more. Every time the tattoos moved, Wang Lin's body would tremble, and the painful expression on his face intensified. The plant between his eyebrows became even more clear. One leaf opened and the second leaf was about to open too. Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes and the hint of clarity that was hidden in his eyes slowly disappeared. He let out a roar and stared at the heaven-defying bead. The clarity in his eyes slowly disappeared before suddenly returning. This cycle repeated and soon, Wang Lin was soaked in sweat. He was betting that although the plant was created from the power of the tattoos, it contained a hint of wood element. As long as there was wood element, the heaven-defying bead could absorb it. If he lost, then he would immediately use all his power to suppress the tattoos. The old man seemed to notice something and let out a sneer as he continued to chase. He was confident that someone who wasn't at least one realm above him in cultivation couldn't remove the seed. Wang Lin stared at the heaven-defying bead. The struggle on his face became even more fierce. Then the heaven-defying bead suddenly released a green light. It was weak at first, but it gradually got brighter. Shortly after, the leaf that had just opened up trembled and was pulled out from Wang Lin and absorbed by the heaven-defying bead. The moment that leaf disappeared, the clarity in his eyes returned. Wang Lin was excited. He quickly pointed at the heaven-defying bead to make it disappear, and then turned his full attention to controlling the star compass to escape. He knew that time was of the essence, so he had no time for the heaven-defying bead to absorb more. Now that he knew that the heaven-defying bead could absorb the tattoo, he was no longer in a hurry to get rid of it, so he focused on escaping. The old man appeared right after Wang Lin disappeared. His face was gloomy as he stared into the distance with his eyebrows locked. Why does this junior have so many different treasures? He has something that can remove the tattoo seed. When the leaf was absorbed by the heaven-defying bead, the old man was able to detect it and was shocked. I must refine this person into my tattoo puppet. The old man's eyes became cold again, and he continued to chase. Wang Lin was very happy. He sat on the compass, touched his forehead, and muttered, "I didn't expect to find such good luck in this misfortune. The heaven-defying bead water, fire, and earth elements are complete. There's no metal element at all, and the wood element is half complete. I wonder if the wood element will be complete after absorbing the tattoo in my body." Time slowly passed. Wang Lin's sense of time was basically non-existent. He spent every moment focused on controlling the star compass to escape. He had already used more than half of the pills in his bag of holding. There were only several bottles left, but the danger behind him still hadn't disappeared. However, what made Wang Lin feel grateful was that the old man chasing him was gradually slowing down. If this kept up, it wouldn't take long for Wang Lin to completely lose the old man. After all the pills are used up, I still have top-quality spirit stones. With those, I can last until that old bag of bones is completely exhausted. Wang Lin looked back with a sneer. I have to thank that old bag of bones. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have known that the star compass had a movement technique in it. Wang Lin touched the star compass. He really adored this treasure. Day in, day out, nearing 3,000 words, reading a lot. But can't force myself to split the story into 2,000 words chapters, because then the flavor's gone. Leo with tears in his eyes, longing for the like button for the video. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 354, Cutting Your Escape Path. The old man was still frowning. He had been chasing Wang Lin for more than 4 months. There were several times where he almost caught up, but then the treasure Wang Lin was riding would release a white light and suddenly teleport away. This shocked him and made him feel even more angry. A grand 7-leaf shaman couldn't even catch a junior. For him, this was a disgrace. However, he wasn't a cultivator. All of his power came from the tattoos on his body. He didn't expect that junior to be able to keep this speed up for 4 months. The old man's eyes flickered and he began to ponder. He had already used up a lot of his power, so it was no longer viable for him to continue chasing. More importantly, he was a bit worried about how many treasures this junior hadn't used yet, and how many pills he had left. After pondering for a bit, the old man revealed a hint of reluctance in his eyes before letting out a sigh and turning around to leave. Wang Lin suddenly felt the danger from behind him disappear, so he stopped the star compass. He looked back and began to ponder. No longer going to chase, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He wasn't sure if the old man had given up or had some other schemes in mind. After pondering for a while, Wang Lin let out a sigh. If the old man was only at the late stage of soul formation, Wang Lin would have turned around and started chasing him instead. However, this old man was the same as a soul transformation cultivator, which made Wang Lin raise his guard. He pondered a bit, let out a snort, and instead of backing up, he went around toward the side of the old man. The old man noticed what Wang Lin was doing. His face sank, but he didn't do anything. After a few days, the old man was frowning very hard. Wang Lin had kept the same distance from him this whole time. He had endured it for this long, but he finally jerked back and shouted, "You really are reckless." He turned into a ray of light and chased after Wang Lin. Wang Lin let out a laugh and the star compass disappeared within the void. After chasing for a few more days, the old man had to give up because he could feel his tattoo's power getting weaker and weaker. He let out a cold snort before turning toward the exit again. Wang Lin immediately stopped. His eyes lit up, and after pondering for a bit, he continued to harass the old man. The old man completely ignored Wang Lin and continued to fly. As time passed, Wang Lin was confident that this wasn't some kind of scheme. He figured out that the old man really couldn't continue chasing him. After confirming that, Wang Lin's eyes became very cold. He slapped his bag of holding, and the celestial sword appeared in his hand. He quickly closed the distance, and after reaching a certain distance from the old man, he swung the celestial sword in his hand. He swung 3 times before quickly leaving. The 3 rays of sword energy flew toward the old man. His face sank as he pointed at the sword energies. There were suddenly 3 bangs, but the old man's body didn't move at all. He gloomily looked toward Wang Lin's direction and shouted, "This time this old man will let you go, so scram! Or else, don't blame me for taking your life." With that, the old man continued moving toward the exit, while ignoring Wang Lin. Wang Lin sneered. Instead of backing up, he closed in again and harassed the old man with more sword energy. After a month, the old man was very irritated. He wished he could just go and tear that junior into pieces. However, Wang Lin would escape without hesitation the moment the old man tried to attack, and if he wanted to leave, Wang Lin would harass him with sword energy. Although these sword energy attacks couldn't harm him, they had made his mood go from bad to worse. "Wang Lin, are you finished?" On this day, the old man finally had enough and shouted at the void behind him. The tattoos on his body shined like crazy and heavy pressure came from them. Wang Lin was so far away that he wasn't afraid at all. He said, "Senior has chased me for several months. You must be reluctant to give up. Junior here doesn't have many more pills in my bag, so if you continue to chase me, you will definitely be able to catch up." The old man's eyes were very gloomy. He stared at the void in the distance and suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he stared viciously at the white light that was released by the star compass when it teleported. His expression suddenly changed, and he turned his head toward the exit. The direction Wang Lin had teleported to wasn't only away from the old man, it was also toward the exit. "Senior Junior is going to destroy the exit so that we can stay here forever." That'd be fun." Wang Lin's irritating voice entered the old man's ears. The old man let out a roar and suddenly charged out. His hatred for Wang Lin had reached its limit. If it wasn't for that treasure, how would he be stuck in a situation where it would bad if he chased, and also bad if he didn't chase? Wang Lin indeed didn't have many pills left, but he still had top-quality spirit stones. With those, he was confident that he would be fine being chased by the old man. He would occasionally wave the celestial sword to bug the old man. This chase was a battle of attrition, and a battle of the heart. The old man couldn't guess how many pills and spirit stones Wang Lin had left. These 4 months of chasing Wang Lin had made him doubt himself. He felt like Wang Lin had an endless supply of pills and spirit stones. This feeling was very weak at first, but when he gave up and Wang Lin instead turned around to chase him, this feeling became very strong. He was confident that Wang Lin still had a lot of pills and spirit stones left, so he wouldn't be able to catch up no matter what unless the treasure under Wang Lin suddenly broke. The old man thought of ways to attack the star compass, but not only was Wang Lin fast, he was also very cautious. Whenever he closed in to a certain distance, Wang Lin would teleport away. At this moment, because Wang Lin had changed directions, the chase began once more. Only compared to before, the person suffering was not Wang Lin but the old man. A few months later, Wang Lin had used up all his pills, and he was currently relying on top-quality spirit stones to recover his spiritual energy. The more Wang Lin chased, the more impatient the old man became, so he attacked more. However, Wang Lin had the star compass, so all of those attacks missed. As long as one of the attack tattoos hit, then even if it didn't kill, it would mortally wound this junior. If it landed on the treasure, it would break it and allow him to kill this junior as he wished. Sadly, the speed of the star compass became even faster as Wang Lin got more familiar with it during these 8 months. In the end, Wang Lin created 4 sockets on the star compass and placed 4 top-quality spirit stones into them. He was powering the star compass purely with the spirit stones. After leaving a bit of his divine sense to control the compass, the rest of his energy was spent on attacking the old man. The lance from the restriction flag, his time domain carvings, the black stamp, and some ancient treasures were all used by Wang Lin. Although they were useless against the old man, Wang Lin's mastery over them became better and better. After all, ever since he had started cultivating, he had never been in a situation where he could use his treasures as he wished. The celestial sword was used many times until he could control it like a flying sword through Shu Liguo, as long as it was within 30 feet of him. As a result, although the power of the celestial sword didn't increase, it was much more nimble. All of this was thanks to the old man. The old man's anger had reached its limit. A mere ant that he could crush between his fingers dared to mess with him like this. In these months of pursuit, Wang Lin had become someone that the old man absolutely had to kill. He even gave up on the idea of turning Wang Lin into a tattoo puppet. If given the chance, he wouldn't hesitate at all to tear Wang Lin into pieces. Even the 3 sword sheaths were taken out by Wang Lin and used one by one. Although Wang Lin's cultivation level hadn't increased, his mastery over his treasures was like heaven and earth compared to before. When he used a magic treasure now, it was even more powerful. On this day, Wang Lin saw the exit far away. At the exit was a giant shining tattoo holding the rift open. Wang Lin was able to see the outside world through the rift. There were countless savages outside the exit, staring at the rift. Wang Lin snorted. He had never considered leaving through this rift. He jumped off the star compass and swung the celestial sword. The sword energy hit the tattoos that were holding the rift open. A series of rumbling sounds could be heard and cracks appeared on the tattoos. No, the old man's tattoo power was almost dry after chasing Wang Lin for 8 months. When he saw the tattoo at the exit being attacked, he immediately shouted, and a trace of panic appeared on his face. He teleported forward to get there as fast as he could, but what he saw when he got there was Wang Lin swinging down the celestial sword again. The tattoo was destroyed, and the spatial rift closed. The old man's body trembled as he stared dumbfoundedly at the exit that had disappeared. Old bag of bones, since this little lord can leave, you might as well stay too and continue to chase me. Wang Lin didn't stand still. After he destroyed the tattoo, he returned to the compass and continued to escape. His laugh slowly drifted in from the distance. Madman! You madman! Even if I die, I won't forgive you. The old man's eyes were bloodshot as he chased after Wang Lin. However, the tattoos on his body were dim. After chasing for a while, he stopped. He let out a roar and suddenly sat down in the lotus position. The 7-leaf plant appeared between his eyebrows and soon covered his whole body. When all 7 leaves completely opened, the old man was completely covered by the plant, leaving behind a lonely plant to grow in the void. I hope to borrow the clan's spirit to open a passage. The old man inside the plant slowly closed his eyes. International Children's Day brings tears in wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter Remaining People. Wang Lin sensed the giant plant summoned by the old man as he stood on top of the star compass. His eyes lit up, but he didn't go harass the old man anymore. He left instead. He had been very careful this entire time. He only acted when he was sure of his own safety. Now that he had cut off the old man's retreat, he knew that the old man was furious. Although this was when the old man was at his weakest, Wang Lin also knew that his cultivation level was far too low. If it wasn't for the star compass speed, he would have already become the old man's puppet. No matter how weak a 7-leaf shaman who was as powerful as a soul transformation cultivator was, he would still have the ability to kill Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't believe that he had the power to kill the old man. Shortly after he left, the old man suddenly opened his eyes inside the plant. Red light shot out from his eyes as he looked toward Wang Lin's direction. He could feel Wang Lin quickly leaving and sighed. Unfortunately, this brat is too cautious. If he had come, I would have been able to kill him for sure. He pondered a bit, and then used the ancestral spirit to slowly communicate with the outside. The most terrifying thing about this void was finding an exit. It was unlike a normal void where one could leave by just tearing open space. If there was no guidance from outside, one would be trapped here forever. After a long time, there was a hint of panic in the old man's eyes. He had long forgotten about Wang Lin. What he wanted the most now was to send a message to his clan on the outside so they could set a beacon to act as his guide. Wang Lin sat on the star compass and flew for a very long time. Although the sense of danger from behind him was gone, he was still very cautious, so he flew for several more days before finally stopping. As he looked at the void around him, his eyes were calm. There was no hint of panic at all in them. He pointed at his brow, and then the heaven-defying bead flew out. Then Wang Lin activated his spiritual energy, and the black lines appeared on his body again. However, there weren't as many this time, and they only extended to his neck. During these 8 months of flying, Wang Lin had used the heaven-defying bead multiple times to absorb the tattoo plant. He had already absorbed a majority of it at this point. Wang Lin let out a roar and revealed a painful expression. The black lines extending to his neck slowly receded. Soon, all of the black lines were gathered at his brow. That mysterious plant appeared again. The heaven-defying bead glowed green and began to absorb it. After a long time, Wang Lin opened his eyes and took a deep breath. He looked back and said, "This spell from the forsaken immortal sect is too strange. If I meet them again, I'll have to be more careful. He grabbed the heaven-defying bead and looked at it. 9 leaves had fully formed, and the 10th leaf was partially completed. A trace of happiness appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. The bead then touched his forehead and disappeared. The harvest this time is pretty good. The heaven-defying bead's wood element is almost complete. The most important thing to do right now is think of a way to leave this place. Wang Lin pondered a bit. He already had an idea when he decided to cut off the old man's escape route. This was why he was able to destroy the tattoo that was keeping the rift open without any hesitation. If there was no help from the outside, it was very difficult to leave this place. However, although he was trapped, his original body was still outside. He sat on the compass and slowly tried to sense the original body. Country of Chu, thousands of miles underground, there was a ball of purple light. Inside this purple light sat a very handsome young man. He had a head full of red hair, his skin was a healthy bronze color, and there were tiny cracks all over his skin. There were 2 stars slowly spinning on this person's forehead. At this moment, the young man suddenly opened his eyes and started emitting killing intent from them. He pondered a bit before suddenly standing, and then going above ground. He slapped his bag of holding and was immediately dressed in black. Right now, he looked no different from any other cultivator. This person walked into the forest of the immortal graveyard. He stopped somewhere and punched the air, causing a round spatial rift to appear. After waiting for a bit, this person shook his head and walked away. Every 10 steps or so, this person would stop and punch the air, creating a spatial rift each time. As he continued, he became faster and faster as he walked deeper into the depths of the forest. This person continued doing this. After opening more than 10,000 spatial rifts, he arrived at the hole that led to the immortal graveyard. He looked into the hole and then turned toward another direction. Same as before, he would open a spatial rift every 10 steps. Time slowly passed. He became impatient at all and continued. The northern part of the forest was covered in dead leaves. Whenever he stepped on them, they would rustle. Just as he was about to punch, he looked into the distance. His eyes suddenly became cold and he disappeared. In the north of the forest of the immortal graveyard, there was suddenly a male and a female flying in the sky. The woman was very beautiful. She was wearing a white veil. The male was an old man wearing a black cloak. As the 2 of them flew, the old man's expression suddenly changed. He quickly grabbed the woman and backed up. With a bang, cracks appeared in the space where they just were. Inside the middle of cracks stood a young man. This person was very handsome and had a head full of red hair. This was Wang Lin's original body. His original body coldly stared at the 2 of them and punched with his right hand. The old man's expression changed greatly, and he slapped his bag of holding. A mountain-shaped treasure appeared and immediately grew to shield the old man. The original body's eyes were calm. His fist didn't slow down at all as it landed on the mountain. Boom! With a loud bang, the mountain shined brightly, but the light it gave off was useless as it was smashed into pieces. The force of the punch smashed toward the 2 along with the shattered pieces of the mountain. The old man's face was gloomy as he pulled the white-veiled woman to continue retreating. The original body took a step forward and shattered the space under his feet before sending out another punch. The old man spat out a ray of white light which turned into a flying sword. The sword gave off a dangerous aura and there was a trace of purple on it. That meant that this sword was very tough because it was forged with the very rare purple heart copper. The flying sword flew toward the original body's fist. The original body's eyes were still calm as he let out a snort and his fist collided with the flying sword. The flying sword immediately cracked down the middle and completely shattered. At the same time, the domain of a soul formation cultivator came out of the sword and entered the original body. The original body's eyes lit up. As an ancient god, he didn't have a domain, but he did have a powerful killing intent. His red hair moved, and a blood-red light glowed in his body. The old man's domain couldn't even withstand one hit and collapsed. The original body's fist arrived once more. There was a hint of panic in the old man's eyes as he grabbed the white-veiled woman to retreat once more. The original body continued to chase. Fellow cultivator, we don't even know each other. Why must you act like this? The old man's voice was strained. He was already terrified of this person's fist. Aside from the warrior from the Forsaken Immortal clan, he had never seen a cultivator like this. With just a punch, he could destroy magic treasures. With just a step, spatial rifts appeared. All of this terrified the old man. The original body snorted and became even more fierce. With one punch, a restriction-like spell suddenly appeared around the old man and white-veiled woman. The original body shouted, "Accept your death." The old man secretly cursed. He saw the despair in the white-veiled woman's eyes and said, "My lady, I'm going to borrow the magic saber." The white-veiled woman quickly slapped her bag of holding, and a ray of white light appeared. The old man quickly grabbed it. It was a broken saber. After grabbing the saber, the old man grabbed the white-veiled woman and bit his tongue to spit some blood on the broken saber. At this moment, the original body's fist arrived. Its target was the old man's head. The old man let out a roar as he panicked, and the saber flew out to block the blow. Bang! Countless cracks appeared on the broken saber, and a piece it even broke off. The old man clenched his teeth. His complexion was dark and filled with fear as he quickly pulled the white-veiled woman away. He was very quick, so he was able to pull her out of the restriction that was surrounding them. The white-veiled woman was terrified as she quickly said, "Senior, please stop. Even if you want to kill the two of us, at least give us a reason." The original body withdrew his fist and coldly stared at the two of them. The surroundings suddenly calmed down. Aside from the sound of clothes flapping in the wind, there was no other sound. The old man's forehead was covered in sweat as he stared at the red-haired young man before them. No matter how hard he searched his memory,